Society is crumbling as men give up on it. Guys, it's kind of a nightmare out there. I'm joined with MK by MK Fitness today.
MK Mobile Gaming in the Philippines coming at you live from the Philippines, Angeles City, Clark City, Balibago, Pampanga, and all the surrounding area. I'm repping the whole neighborhood. What's going on, guys? How's life?
I don't know, man. I tell you, like I kind of see what's going on with like the Gen Z idiots right now. You know, they're misbehaving. We won't go into specifics, but I'm sure you're seeing what the nonsense they're doing over here in Western society on these what they're doing is we'll just call it takeovers in these places of learning, what should be
Oh
learning
yeah,
in. And you realize that these young people are so far gone, and it's a sick it's a sick society. You look at how dishonest our society is. You realize that Gen Z is just a symptom of this sick society. You see the sisterhood is falling apart. You see that women are basically like, the sisterhood's gonna keep me single. And I've kind of like just realized that we could literally be facing the apocalypse. Like there could be a meteor headed for Earth, and there would be women outside, like, okay, well, yes, this is it, but I got to take this picture with the meteor and get it up to Insta, before time runs out. Like their priority would literally be like taking the best end of the world photo, rather than the fact that like focusing, like, yeah, this is pretty much it.
yeah, and then they would blame men for the meteor coming to hit the Earth. Like somehow it would be our fault.
Hmm.
The patriarchy caused a meteor to come hit the Earth.
The patriarchy caused it, and the matriarch. If it wasn't for the patriarchy, there would be a solution. It's because of the
Yeah,
patriarchy that enough work wasn't done to stop this from happening somehow.
exactly. I did my live stream from yesterday was how like men society wants men to be responsible without any authority. So how can you actually they want to blame you for every problem that happens, right? But not give you the authority to fix it and then blame you when everything goes wrong,
Hmm.
right? Like you can't fix it because you have no authority, but it's your fault because you're responsible for it. So
Responsibility without authority is slavery.
exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And I mean, less and less men are going to take that deal. That is why society is falling apart, not just in the secular world, but for me, from like the religious perspective, even in the churches, we're seeing pastors who don't have authority to bring order into their churches. And so why are they going to take that deal? A future, it's like you're not going to go up take a job where they're going to say, okay, we need you to get this company back into the black and out of the red, but we're not going to give you any authority to actually do anything about it. And then when you fail at this, we're going to blame you and then fire you because you couldn't do the expectations we set for you, right? Because you have no authority.
You
Like no
you
one's going to take that deal.
you look at Western society, and you realize that what we have right now is women have if you have special rights, while someone else has special responsibilities, what that really, without authority, what that bounds down to is women have special privileges while men have special punishments.
Hmm. Oh, we got our first drizzle comment. Drizzle 2024.
Drizzle Drizzle 2024.
Grizzle.
Grizzle. Oh God.
Because of the bear thing. Women choose the bear over the man.
I've been seeing the Grizzle. I didn't. Do you know where that comes from?
Actually, I don't, I'm not entirely sure, but apparently there was something going viral about a woman who said she feels safer with a bear than she does with a man. And then that turned into Grizzle, I think.
Jesus. Hmm.
So,
This comment right here is interesting. He says, "Bad male says, as men, we don't own anything. We don't own we don't owe anything to modern society. We absolutely don't. That's the crazy thing. Like, there's this women. It's kind of sad. You have all of these women who've done these things, and their go to is immediately to shaming men. They think they're going to shame men into saving
Hmm.
society. They're going to shame men into providing for them. They're going to shame men. It's like women in Western society, no, their disdain for men is so deep at this point that all they know how to do is to get men to do what they want is using pain, inflicting pain and using shame. So shame, insults, and guilt because they need to be right. And it's been like 50, 60 years of this. So they don't know how to treat men right. They don't know how to do it because they believe that men are just there to serve them and then go away.
Yeah, they like you've said it before, and that men are property. They actually believe that in the Western men are their property. That's why they get so mad about passport bros because they think they're losing their property.
you know the crazy thing about feminism, and like people don't know the true history of feminism. I don't know if you know this fact. So I was looking at feminism, and did there's feminism has never been about equality. They have all intersectionality and all of this other garbage. When feminists have always disliked men. They've always
Hmm.
disliked men. They've never liked men. It's always been about giving women special privileges. And there was this one feminist named Andrea Dorquin or something. I cannot remember her pronounce her name properly. The people who will know who I'm talking about. She was a radical feminist, and she had arguments where the male population should be reduced down to 10%. And this has been a very, very this has been a point that feminists have been pushing for a very long time of essentially, committing, you know, essentially reducing the male population down to almost nothing. There's also
Mm.
branches of feminism that are pushing extinctionism, saying that there should be no reproduction. This was before the 4B movement. Now the 4B movement, 4B movement is basically where they're saying that it's something that originated from South Korea, and with the 4B movement, they basically have these different tenets of what women should basically be doing. And it's essentially pushing women even further away from men. Basically, don't sleep with men, don't have children with men, don't get married, don't date. And it's like, who do you really think you're hurting? That's the thing. It's crazy. It's really crazy what these people are doing. It's like you look at the society we're in right now, and things are so bad. We're being gaslit. Like I saw this comment from someone from in an article where people were saying that Gen Z is misbehaving when they were handed a golden economy, and I'm like, golden economy, like we're gonna like we're headed for hell right now. This is the one of the worst economies that we've ever seen. Like this is a horrible economy.
Well, it
Like,
is a golden economy for them because they can just steal whatever they want. They don't have to pay for it.
oh shit. Oh boy. Well, yeah. Let me see.
So
I
they're
think we have
living the dream.
I think we
And
have
then you
this.
got and then you got the squatters. I mean, now you don't even have to buy a house. You can just squat in someone's house for 2 years before the courts can actually legally throw you out. So I mean,
My God, we have a video here from regarding the Gen Z idiots. Let me see if I can figure out which one it is. It's like I don't know which one it is. It's one of them. I'll try. I'll put one on, and if it's not right, then I'll get the other one. Let's see.
A former White House economist is warning of the burden U.S. debt will have on Gen Z and blames mistakes made by the Treasury Department. In an opinion piece for Project Syndicate, Todd Buchholz and former Labor Department employee James Carter write, quote, rather than issuing 50 or 100-year bonds when interest rates were at rock bottom, the U.S. Treasury dismissed this option and simply continued to borrow on a short-term basis. Now that U.S. interest payments are ballooning, the scale of this blunder has become apparent. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here in Studio 57 to help us understand this. Before we even start down this path, Jill, explain what I just read to the audience. Because they're going, what? Balloon? Like, huh? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we borrow money every year to make up the difference between what we are committed to spend and what we take in Just think about that, right? So people pay their taxes. That's money that goes into the Treasury. But we have other obligations, right? We got to pay Social Security. We got to pay for Medicare. We got to pay for Medicaid. We got to pay for military. We have obligations that we have made. And we can't just be like, sorry, we're not going to make that obligation whole. So every year we borrow money. That annual deficit adds up to a national debt level. And so you see, we used to have a debt clock here in New York. I don't even know if it still exists, but trillions and trillions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
$34 trillion. It's a massive number. By the way, good thing to remember, trillion, T, 12 zeros. That's how you remember it. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
It's a big number. And the problem isn't so much the absolute amount of the money that we have borrowed, but it is about what portion that we're paying back, the interest payments, and what that's eating up in and of itself. So what we have seen is over the last 20 years that the amount of money that we're paying in interest is ballooning. That's the ballooning part, because the absolute number doesn't really matter. We're never going to zero. So think about this. Would you rather pay interest on a mortgage at 7% or 3%?
A 3.
Thank you. Very good. So the point of this whole article is to say, hey, when interest rates were really low back in 2020 and 2021, where everyone was locking in those 3% mortgage rates, why didn't the U.S. government say to the world, hey, we want to borrow money from you for a longer period of time? The U.S. borrows money daily, weekly, monthly, annually, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and 30 years. So the idea was, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could borrow money for 50 years or 100 years while interest rates were really low? This was first, it's been looked at by various Treasury secretaries, but Steve Mnuchin looked at it in the spring of 2020. When in the middle of COVID, interest rates plunged. Hey, let's borrow a bunch of money for a longer period of time. He decided against it. Janet Yellen looked at it also in 2021. Same thing. So the question is, why didn't we go longer to lock in those low rates?
And so Gen Z is being affected how?
So I think the way that you have to consider this is that because we have long-term debt obligations, because we have these programs that need to be financed, the way that you would actually raise the money to do that would be to what? Raise taxes, right? So you would either do one of two things: cut the programs, which I don't think is going to happen, or raise taxes. So there have been a lot of arguments that in order to pay for all these boomers who are retiring, where we've got these peak boomers, people turning 65, there's 4 million a year now till 2030, to pay for all of that, that we are essentially burdening the younger generation. And the other part of the burden comes in the form of higher interest rates overall. And that really does cause a problem. If you're young and you're borrowing and you're paying back your student loan, many people borrowed money from the government for student loans, and it was 3%. Now it's 7%, 6 or 7%. They can't buy houses as easily for lots of different dynamics. So when we talk about the burden of these debt levels, we're really talking about, we're asking this younger generation to foot the bill.
And then, so is there a way to course correct so the burden is not so heavy for Gen Z?
Well, I think the course correction is going to be what I believe will occur is that taxes will go up for everybody. I'm sorry that that's a bummer. Like, I'm obviously not running for office.
So, phew.
But I think the problem is that the structure of our population is such that we're going to have to see higher taxes in the future to pay for these things. I think that we can't course correct now. Maybe we go back when interest rates fall again at some point in the future. Maybe we do that. But it's kind of like if you missed your opportunity to refi, you don't have it again. And I do think there's been a pushback because some people believe that issuing a 50 or 100-year bond in 2020 or 2021, glad you're an old finance guy, the question is, in 2020 or 2021, would I actually take just a 2% interest rate for 50 years?
Right.
That's a lot to ask. So
Yeah.
the real question was, even if you could do it at that time, would anyone buy those bonds?
Right.
Jill, it's really fascinating.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
Oh, I'm glad I made it fascinating.
Yeah, you did.
National debt is fascinating.
But crippling also.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry about that part.
Thanks, Jill.
I mean, it's crazy. We have this insane inflation, and people don't understand. Prices are never going down. Wages are not going up. Prices are not going down. And every year the inflation goes higher. So every year they're like, oh, inflation is improving. Inflation doesn't mean deflation. It doesn't mean prices go down. It means that the prices are just going up slower.
Hmm. Or
And
they just like they just stopped going
yeah,
up,
well,
but they're never going back down to what they were.
they're never going back down, and inflation always happens. So it sometimes it'll look like they've stopped, but it's like, oh, they're not going up as fast. So it's like you're still paying $7.50 for a Big Mac, but it's only $7.50.
Yeah,
I mean, you should have.
the dum dums are all like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like, oh, like
Everybody.
sometimes you
Go
go
ahead.
into these fast food restaurants and they'll have these old black and white photos where like a hamburger used to cost 25 cents. That's never gonna happen again.
It,
So what do
it's
they think is gonna happen now? It's never now it's $20. Never gonna go back down to $5 the way it used to be.
it's kind of crazy, like, dude, like it's insane when you can say something like, oh man, and, it's like, oh my gosh, tater tots are 5.50 now. It feels like yesterday when they were just 99 cents, and that's because because in 2019 they were just 99 cents.
Yeah. And the
It's like,
funny thing is that they talk about this as if like no one knew it was coming. Like no one, oh, like all of a sudden we just realized that Gen Z is going to have to pay for all this, right? That's the funny. They're pretending like, oh, well, we didn't see this coming. Like
what's
nobody saw it come. And secondly, these newscasters are they're disconnected from the average person. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like the average 9 to 5 Joe guy. They don't know about passport bros. They don't know about men walking away. They don't know about all this stuff going on in society that's actually causing men to pay less taxes.
hmm
See, she's thinking the solution is to raise taxes. Okay, raise them all you want. It doesn't matter if a guy is, living in a shack playing video games in the woods. He's not paying no taxes, you know, because his lifestyle does not. He doesn't even make the minimum requirement to pay taxes. I think you have to make like $12,000 a year to even pay taxes. If you don't make $12,000 a year, you don't have to pay taxes or something. I think because you haven't made enough money to survive.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And then the craziest thing is, like, if you set up an LLC, you can store most of your money in the LLC. So it's like you end up never paying taxes. You work for
Hmm.
yourself, hustling or whatever. You end up never paying taxes. And you're absolutely right. Some guy's living in the woods, just living his best life, buying everything he wants, like, and just relaxing. And if a man without a family, a man that does not have a family and is not working towards a family, is doesn't need a lot to survive. He can live happily at the side of the road in a shoebox. And
Hmm.
you're right about. You're absolutely right. But
And what I'm predicting in the future, the next evolution of passport bros is going to be financial refugees. People are going to be seeking, they're going to be seeking asylum in other countries because of financial issues. I guarantee you. They're going to be leaving the West, going to foreign embassies saying, we want asylum in your country because we cannot afford to live in the West anymore.
financial asylum, dude, that's insane, bro.
That is
That's
the next
insane.
evolution of passport bros. I
Oh
guarantee you.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is crazy. I didn't. I predicted men leaving the West. They talked about people leaving the U.S. for student loans, but oh my gosh, like that's insane. Can you imagine, like, people like having these crazy student loan debts, and then on top of it, personal finance?
Mhm.
They've spent all this money buying food and stuff, surviving off credit, and now they're like, well, time to go, and now they're going to other countries to escape their personal
Yep.
debt so they can survive. Like, I cannot survive in the US. I cannot buy food. I cannot live if I go back there. Like, this is they're torturing me. They take whatever I
Exactly.
have. It is persecution. It's persecution. I never thought of that.
I mean, it's the same as people escaping to the West for, violence in their countries. Your life is, you're not living a good life. So you're gonna go somewhere where you can and file for, asylum because you need it.
Did you hear what was happening in Mexico? Like they've been deporting. So they've been deporting people. The Mexico's actually been deporting people because so many Americans have been moving to Mexico that it's actually messing with the economy. It's actually messing with the economy and and creating a lot of creating a lot of problems because people are just are so broke. Like a lot of Americans are heading over to Mexico so that the to stretch the dollar more, but
Hmm.
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. You know,
Well,
I
that probably has. Yeah, the U.S. is going to be trying to keep track of its citizens as more and more people leave, and I can guarantee you, even over here, yeah, they're going to be keeping tabs on where you're at a little bit more closely than they have in the past. And they've already started to do that here in the Philippines as well, because now you can no longer get a 6-month visa; you can only get a 2-month visa.
wait. Repeat that.
I said you used to be able to get a 6-month visa in the Philippines, and now they changed it to where you can only get a 2-month visa.
2 month visa. What the? When did that happen?
Just a few months ago.
2 month visa? That's
Yeah,
insane.
it's because they want to know where you. Because if you get a 6-month visa, you can get a visa and then go live in the woods somewhere. And they can't find you. They want you checking in every 2 months, so they know at least every 2 months they know where you're at.
You know,
And it's not the Philippine government; it's the Western governments.
it's crazy because it's crazy. What happened about like about 100 years ago is what they did, or maybe over 100 years ago. Originally, only around 30% of men would reproduce, and society basically established this notion that okay, so we're gonna basically set it up like this, where every man will be able to have a wife, and as a result, he'll work harder, and it will create
Hmm.
stability. And it did create stability because it led to men working harder, working longer, working longer hours, working harder jobs, building themselves up, learning skills, so that they would have a wife and children. But that
Hmm.
with feminism, and everything that has happened, that contract was broken, and yet society still expects men to take the responsibility with no authority, because men don't even have authority over their children anymore. The state can take those children away very easily. For example, the mother gives up the rights of the child at birth. When she has a child, she can just give up the rights. A lot of times the father does not get custody. Like they basically give it to someone else, and that just shows you how little men have in Western society. And if men don't have love for family or country, then the average man has no dog in the fight. And it's like, you can, even if they try to enslave men or punish men, they can only make them. You can never make a man work harder than when he has something to work for. And saying, well,
Mm.
we're gonna, work for your life. If you don't want us to control, alt, delete you, or you don't want us to make you suffer, that you're going to work hard. I mean, that's not going to create productivity or innovation or anything. Like that's just slavery. And it's it's interesting because I don't know if the state really comprehends what it has done. These people, they love money, but they've taken so much away from men that men basically have no reason to fight to fight anymore. Men have no reason to defend the country. Men have no reason to work long hours. No, men have no reason to create wealth. Men are the
Mhm.
gatekeepers of society. If something really does happen and men needed to defend Western society, they would not. They would defend themselves. They would defend their homes. If they had families, many more, then they'll defend their families. And they may defend their communities, but they're not going to defend their. They're not going to, defend their country, like, or go somewhere else and defend it. That's not going to happen. Most men don't have a dog in the fight, and like you said,
Mm.
a lot of men will happily go off into the woods. That's why, and that's why the government is going after men going out to the woods. Moving out to the woods, like, oh, you're not supposed to be on this land, which is absolute BS. It's public land, but they're
Well,
afraid.
they don't want that to catch on, because if that catches on, it's going to be a big issue for them. That's why they attack that so hard and fast, is because They can't be having that movement on top of everything else. You got MGTO, you got SYBSM,
Hmm.
you got the Manosphere, you got the Passport Kings, you got the soft guy era now. I mean, men just keep evolving, and we're evolving so fast that the government and women can't even keep up at this point, which is good for us. So the living in the woods thing, that might just be another evolution or never another genre of the manosphere that they don't want that catching on. Because once that it's easy to move one person out of the woods. You know what I mean? What if
Hmm.
they have like multiple people in there? It's gonna
I
be a
thought
little bit
about
more difficult.
no, oh my dude, I thought about it. What happens when society breaks down? People are like, yeah, we're not paying these rents anymore, and you have
Mm,
100 people in the woods. What do you? Oh, you're gonna send a bunch of cops to come and move these people and arrest them all.
exactly.
And what happens?
Exactly.
And what happens when you have 1,000 people in the woods? What are you gonna do? Move all of these people back into society and put them on the streets or put them in prison and torture
And then
them?
how does that reflect on the government when they're sending like military personnel, tanks in to get rid of these people? Then it starts making those people look like martyrs.
No, it looks absolutely horrible, like dragging poor people out of the woods because they cannot survive in city. Like, what you're
Exactly.
doing is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. All right, what you're supposed to be in society. Living, and this is you're messing. You're stealing from the government or blah blah blah. You, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. And imagine when like some guy takes a stand. It doesn't take a bunch of guys. It only takes one. It only takes one guy to
Hmm.
get pissed off. It's like, you look at, like I said, you look at Gen Z and you realize that Gen Z is very much just a symptom. It's very much just a symptom of a really bad of a sick society.
Mm. And yeah, like I said before, these government officials, they're disconnected from the average guy. They don't know how the average guy thinks. They don't know how the average guy feels. They don't know how the morale is in, the regular 9 to 5 egg and hammer guy. Uh, they think that just because in their little circle of friends, everyone is still getting married and the world is still going the way, in this little imaginary delusion of freedom that the world's just going to keep going that way. They have no idea. The manosphere is very big, but if you actually talk to like these older people, these government, they don't know what the manosphere is. They never heard of it. These
Hmm.
older generations have no idea about the manosphere.
There's an
So
interesting comment right here from Stoner. He says, "How are they going to fare against 80 million firearm owners across the lower 48 states?" And that's a
yeah,
damn
I know.
That's a damn good point. When because like right now everyone's just living off credit, and when everything
Uh,
crashes and it's going to crash, and people say no more, like a this the state's power comes from the people, and when you have too many people who give up on the state and turn on the state, the entire damn thing falls apart. And if you have these people like the military, law enforcement that begin to aid the state and work for the state. A lot of these people eventually, like we see a breakdown, they won't be able to go back to their communities. Like they're like
mhm.
for example, like if you're doing these things, like if we see a breakdown in society, and you have members of law enforcement doing this, I guarantee you, all of these people will be walking around with their faces covered. Like they'll all be wearing like helmets and masks to cover their face,
Mm,
like because they will literally be seen as agents of oppression.
yeah, just like in Mexico, what they have to do to protect themselves from the cartels. So,
Mm. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean,
but I
right?
don't, it's not gonna be like an all out civil thing. It's just gonna be men quietly going away, and that's actually more effective tactic
Mhm.
than if there was, a militia of some sort. The most effective thing we can do is what we're already doing.
Walk away.
Exactly.
Hmm. You're absolutely right about that.
And
And
that's
this,
what Project 2025 is all about. It's all about trying to get men to come back.
the crazy thing is that it's like you have men who are going to the woods, but then even men who are not going to the woods, you have a lot of men are just retreating inside their homes and they're isolating at
Yeah.
home, and they're finding it very, very advantageous. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm at home. I'm able to get all of these things done. They're building
Mhm.
they're building home gyms. They're focusing, playing video games, working on their projects, maybe building their music. And they're like, there's really no reason for me to leave my home. Like some guys are like, I might just go out and get groceries. Other guys are like, I don't even need to do that. I don't eat a lot. I'll just Instacart it. And there's, maybe I have a backyard. And that's really it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, men are downsizing. They're living. So yeah, they're still paying taxes, but they're never going to be paying as much taxes as they would have been paying if they had to work 80 hours a week to pay their mortgage. Because the more you work, the more you're paying in taxes. More hours you work, you're paying taxes on that overtime money. Men aren't doing that no more. They're not buying houses. They're not buying new cars. They don't have to buy a second car for their wife. The soccer van. They don't need a 2-car garage. They don't need a picket fence. They don't need to pay the lawn guy to come cut the grass. So much stuff that they would have to do that would actually be boosting the economy. They're not doing anymore.
One of the things, as men begin to walk away, it doesn't take a lot to do a quick Google search and say, well, how can I avoid paying taxes? And it's not hard to figure it out, because once you don't have a family, you don't have children,
Mhm.
you reduce your expenses. You can live a simple life of luxury. A lot of millionaires, they have over $1 million, and yet they live very, very simple, because men don't like the complexity. Men just like simple luxuries.
Yeah.
And once you have this, once men realize this and they start doing this, they're like, well, for example, if I'm only making $12,000 a year, I don't have to pay taxes. And then, like, I could set up an LLC. I could drive for Uber. I can do, like, do something online, work remotely as a consultant. And if I'm working as a consultant, again, you have an LLC, your money is going into the LLC. You write off. You can even, like, for example, oh, I have a home office, so I'm writing off my home office, like where I work. And
Mhm.
I have to go ahead.
Also work for another country online, get paid in a foreign country in a foreign currency. So
How
things
does
like
that
that.
work? How does that actually work?
I get paid in a foreign currency. So
How do the taxes work with that?
I'm just like, you're just a self contractor, so you just have to file your own taxes as an independent contractor.
In Japan? Okay, so yeah. Oh wow. So yeah, I mean, you're 100%, you could set up an LLC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just another perfect example. Like, there's so many opportunities for men, like, just to basically say, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm going to reduce my tax liability to a point where I just won't contribute to society anymore, and I won't have children. I won't have a wife. I'll play all the video games I want. I'll stay home. If you start making it hard for me to play video games, I'll buy PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 2, and there's and a massive backlog of those games. Even if they mark the prices up, it doesn't matter. It's I don't have wife, I don't have kids, so I'm more than happy to spend $1,000 on the oldies. And I'll just and again, a lot of guys are happy with a Nintendo 64 and
Hmm.
and a handful of games that they'll just play around the clock. And that's it. Men don't need a lot to be happy. And there's some guys who don't even play games. Like, they're just sitting at home listening to music, reading a book, and sleeping. They eat, sleep, fart, and then do it all again the next day. And it's basically something out of the mouse utopia. The beautiful ones, they're just living their best lives, and they could care less about anything else. And it's like, it's these society like this. It's clear that the state, the tyrants, they don't understand what they have done, because they're like, oh, we want all the cookies for ourselves. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? If you have all the cookies, if you have all the cookies and no one else has any of the cookies, eventually, those cookies are going to lose value, because some people are just going to walk away and say, all right, well, we're
Hmm.
just going to focus on something else. We're not going to contribute anymore. We're not going to make any more cookies, because you need someone to make your cookies. You need someone to buy your cookies. So if no one's making the cookies and no one's buying the cookies, then the cookies start to lose value, and people start to barter with something else.
Yep, cookies not valuable no more. She can't sell the cookie no more. It lost value.
And that's happening with women as well. The only thing that they've been able to shill, and let's be realistic, is the kitty, and the value of the kitty is declining rapidly. And they and again, when the kitty, men are basically like, yeah, we don't want the kitty anymore. All they're going to use is shame, insults, guilt, and it needs to be right. And they don't understand that they're just doing the work. They're just like, when it comes to the MGTOWs, women have been the greatest, the feminist, these women have been the greatest ally of the MGTOWs, and they don't understand it because
Yeah.
they've created more MGTOWs than anything else. They've created more men walking away than anything else. They've basically done the work for them. The insults, the shaming, the guilt, the disrespect, creating a hostile society. They're like, oh, why don't men approach anymore? Like, you guys are doing, they're doing the work for them. All they have to do is just
Hmm.
keep on being themselves. And they don't know how to compete for men, nor will they compete for men. You have a lot of women who will say straight up, like, they will not compete for a man. They're not thirsty. I'm not thirsty. I'm not thirsty. They're going after, like, what they call pick me's, but they don't realize that the girls who put their hands up are the ones who get picked. So it's like,
Hmm.
these women are so lost deep in their ego, they don't realize what they have really done. Let me put on this video about the sisterhood.
All right, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's get in here. So, I don't really take notes. I just kind of get on here and decide, like, hey, we're going to talk today or not. So, I think today I want to talk about the sisterhood.
For singles.
Before we jump into that, I just saw a comment you just put in the comments, dude. We're gonna watch the video, but I just saw a comment, dude. What is this? No, 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 no. I like fuzzy. No, 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 no. Tell me you're just joking, right?
Because this guy said kitty is a furry clam, no razors. So I just said, I guess I'm a furry because I like fuzzy kitties.
You're joking, right?
Yes, it's a joke.
Okay, no, I'm just saying. Dude, I cannot. I don't like furry kitty. I don't like furry kitty. I mean, I can tolerate a little bit of fur, but I don't like furry kitty. I mean, do you like furry kitty? It's okay if you have that preference.
I mean, not like a fro. I mean, if she has a 5 o'clock shadow, it's fine.
Okay, okay, but not like the like where you can grab a pick and start like just going at it.
No, I'm not gonna braid it.
Like, no, Mr. Fine said in the comment, like, 80s bush should be illegal. Oh, exact. Oh my gosh, like, that is so unsanitary. Like, holy cow, I don't want those days to ever come
Yeah,
back.
80s bush is like a train wreck. I can't turn away my eyes because it's so like, you know, you don't want to look, but you can't stop staring at it.
Can
But
you imagine?
it's not like you enjoy it. You're just like, what in the
Like, can you
world?
and can you imagine like the boomers who were like, this is what they were.
They
They're
loved
like,
it too. The
oh,
boomers loved it. They
oh god,
uh a big gray one too, big gray
oh
bush.
Jesus. And guys, they were going like these boomer guys were going down on that. Like, oh my
A big
god,
gray bush that smells like menthol.
oh god,
Smells like
okay.
menthol cigarettes. A gray bush smelling like Newport.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's jump into the video.
All right, y'all. Let's talk about it. Let's get in here. So, I don't really take notes. I just kind of get on here and decide, like, hey, we're going to talk today or not. So, I think today I want to talk about the sisterhood. What I mean when I say the sisterhood is women, the facade of the sisterhood and women, the facade of unity, the culture of pretending that like we're girls, like we're women, we're united. It's not that. It's never been that. Not in my experience, like ever. And I don't even want to speak about me. There's no such thing as the sisterhood. There never was. Women choose and select when they want to be on women's side. In all reality, women do not like each other. We just don't. And I just want to say we as a collective, because I am a woman, but I don't really like to see myself this way. I don't intentionally dislike women. I feel like life kind of programs to have you. I dislike how a lot of women behave, and I dislike a lot of women's accountability. But I don't go out of my way to dislike women, but women just constantly do things that make you dislike them as a fellow woman. It's like, for one, this is the main thing that irritates me. It's the facade of pretending that you like women. I can deal with any type of person if you're just real and you're honest and you're authentic. It's the pretending for me. Pretending that you are for other girls and you're a girl's girl and it's woman empowerment. It's not that. Women are never happy for other women in nothing. Women are always fighting and plotting on your man, somebody else's man, and pretending that they're not. I can honestly attest, I've had good relationships, I've had good experiences, and that's because I've never hung around a bunch of women. I've always had one or two girlfriends here or there, but there's also boundaries. And I notice as well, pretty much, I've never been friends with any single women. All of my female friends are in long-term relationships, always have been, and I only have a select few, and we're not friends to the point where we actually hang out. They're all out of state actually, but it's just it's very hard to be the type of woman that you should be and God designed us and wants us to be while hanging out with other women, because just the culture of womanhood and girls being around each other is just disgusting. They go out, it's always a lightweight competition. Nobody wants to look better than anybody. I love when I see a woman looking nice out. Like, you looking nice, sis, does not make me feel any less about myself. I know that I'm beautiful as I am, and I'm happy in that, and I love to celebrate you, but other women are not like that. They cannot stand, a lot of time, not all, but most. It's the culture. Women are so jealous. They're manipulative. They talk trash. They go and they sleep with each other's man. They go after each other's man. They act like they don't like somebody, and they be the main ones telling their homegirls, oh girl, you should leave him, oh this, oh that. And you're the main one plotting on her man, looking at her man, because women, like, there's just an energy women just don't even like to admit. You like men that mess with a bunch of women. You like that. You claim you want a good dude or a good man, that's gonna be all about you. You don't like that. You like the drama, because it's like, I just feel like it's energy sometimes. I feel like it's spiritual. Like, men who get with a lot of women and are on the promiscuous side, they just have an energy about them, and a lot of women are attracted to that energy, that you're attracted to that competition because you don't like other women. So just the fact that you're put in a position to where you have to compete, you're attracted to that. You feel like, oh, I'm attracted to this man. I want to conquer him because I feel the competition on him. So if I get him, I feel superior to those women, and like I've gotten more. It's disgusting. It's the whole culture, and they'll do anything to get your man. They will offer him their body, their mouth, their flower. Just give them everything, all behind your back, and meanwhile be telling you, oh yeah, girl, he's this, he's that, he's bad, you should leave him, oh, I can't believe he did that, all in your ear, because women love to keep other women single, because they're just like, so many are just so hateful. They're so unfulfilled inside themselves that they want you to be miserable just like them. They don't want you to have nobody. And this has been going on for a long time. A lot of y'all have mamas like this who are bitter. Y'all got grandmamas like this who are, never got married or divorced and ain't got no business of their own, and they're all in your mix. Like, absolutely insane. So it's the culture for me. That's why it's hard to have female friends in this life. It's complicated. You have to vet very seriously, and not even just for who they are, but also just having their energy around you and being able to trust you in their space and them not being preying on your downfall. You don't know whose energy is preying against you. And just having all that in your circle, and just like women, they're just so toxic and it's so untalked about, because all they want to do is preach, oh, this empowerment, oh, females are doing this and that. Guess what? They're doing it for y'all. They're doing it to compete. They're acting like they're not doing it for a man, but that's exactly what they're doing it for. They're doing it to get your man's attention. They're doing it to fulfill their sickness that they haven't fulfilled inside themselves. They're so insecure. They fill their cup up by being able to feed off of male attention, but then want to call it woman empowerment. It's not woman empowerment if males are your consumers. If you need men as your customers, if you're on OnlyFans, if you're doing all of these things, just even regular life, if you're having to do things and talk to multiple dudes in order to get certain things paid for, you got one man that's paying for the nails, another that's paying for the hair. That's a life that a lot of people are living right now in 2024. So can we stop acting like we don't need men? Like, men are what's helping the world go around. They're not only running the world by running the infrastructure, doing the construction, fixing our roadways, like all of these professions that keep our world running. Not only do we need men for that, but also too, y'all need men to keep y'all sane, because it's male attention that's literally making the world go around. If these men were not making y'all feel validated every day, a lot of y'all would be losing y'all's minds. That's another reason why a lot of y'all like to collect and collect and collect, man after man after man, like a bone carrier, because the more men you collect, the less inner work that you have to do inside yourself to make you feel good about yourself. So it's a lot going on, but that's a short one.
I mean, it's, don't get me wrong, this is known to Walt, and she's I guarantee you she was out in there in the streets too. But what's happening right now is these women, some of them see the writing on the wall. A lot of them are so far gone they will never admit to it. But they realize, and I've said it before, like, they have multiple men, different men for different purposes. They've got one man paying the phone bill, another man paying the rent. They have another man, that's the food, or a couple of dudes for, like that hooks them up with food. When they don't have money, another man that'll put some money in their pocket. Like, this is how they're living off the simp economy. So many women live this way while saying they don't need men, but they're living off men. And then there's the attention, because they have all of these men keeping them sane. And if without these men giving them that validation, they basically have to look in the mirror and be with themselves. Like, for example, these women, if they don't have men, if men basically start avoiding them entirely, if they can't go onto the internet, and they don't, because back in the day, back in the 90s, a woman had to actually wait for a man to walk up to her and speak to her. I remember I had a friend, like, I went to high school with. I've told this story before a couple of times. I know this guy, and I saw this guy walking in New York once with this beautiful girl, like insane girl from like a music video. So I stopped this fool and I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Hey." And I said to him, "Dude, what are you doing with this girl? What do you do?" I was literally like, "What are you doing with this girl, man? How did you get?" I asked him it straight to his face in front of the girl, because I'm like, "What do you have no business with this girl? What are you doing with this girl?" And he's like, "Man, would you believe all I did was just speak to her?" And she was just standing there like, "No, he just spoke to me. Like, you just have to talk to the girl. Just talk to girls." This was back in the 90s, And it's like, it was different back then. If a man did not approach a woman, a lot of men never approached women back then. They didn't have social media like they have it now. They couldn't jump on Instagram or or Only Fools and all this other crap, or Twitch. They did not have this garbage. So basically, if a man did not approach a woman, a lot of women would go through life, and men would just not speak to them. and they would feel isolated. So you'd see a lot of ugly dudes walking around with beautiful women and wonder, how did this guy pull this girl? The reason why is because, a lot of men, until they feel secure inside of themselves, unless they're going to a club, or something like that, just in everyday society, most men never approached women. And even now it's
Mm-hmm.
worse. Like, men don't approach women at all anymore. But back then, even it was still rare in the 90s for your typical guy to go to approach a woman and just start chatting her up, because most men are kind of shy. Most men are always conscious, like, what if she starts some problems? Like, I don't want any issues, or I don't even know
Well,
what to say.
also back then, like I think women were kind of like a little bit more respectful. Even if they weren't interested in you, they wouldn't be like completely rude, about it. But
Hmm.
now they're just like, oh, they're just completely rude about it. Like, oh, don't talk to me, get away from me, loser, or whatever. That's why men aren't approaching either, because they know they're just going to get shot down. There's no politeness about it anymore. They don't like, kind of nicely let you down. They're just straight up, I think you're a loser, get away, you know, or
Like,
you're a creep or something.
women in Western society today, it's so bad where, like, women are complaining, like, guys don't know how to read women anymore. Like, she's like, I was obviously giving him signs that I want him to approach me, and he won't approach me. But the thing is, men are
Mm,
catching on to their bull crap. Because, for example, a woman will start looking at a man, like, just like I've had it happen to me years ago. Like, oh, she just
mm.
starts looking at him and giving him like indicators that she wants him to speak to her, and the dude will just literally completely ignore her. And back then, what women do now is they'll give a man indicators. A guy will approach them, and then they'll turn around and say, he'll open his mouth and they don't like what he says, right? For example, like recently, I think it was, I forget who this woman was, but
Some
Taja.
guys will just ignore women for fun, just to like psychologically, mess with them. Because now that we know the game, and we have soft guy error, you could see a woman get messed up when you ignore her. You can see
Mhm.
her face change, her demeanor change. Like, yeah, she's gonna be thinking about this for the rest of the week
But a
just
lot
because
of
I
women,
didn't talk to her.
for example, a guy will approach them. The guy that they'll give him indicators that, they want to be approached, and then he'll approach them, and then they'll lose interest in him immediately. Like, oh yeah, he's not somebody I want, and then they'll
Well,
turn
she
around and
just
go,
said it was about the conquering. It's actually the women who are trying to conquer the man even more than the man trying to conquer the woman. They think that they say like us men are trying to conquer them sexually. It's actually them trying to conquer us.
no, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, like, they'll do things like this where they're like, oh, why is it that every time a man sees a woman, like, the guy will approach them, and they'll basically shame them for approaching him, like, oh, I wasn't interested in you, and they'll go on so much social media, like, why is it that every time a man, a woman is just nice to a guy, he thinks that she's interested in him? We can smile at you, we can make conversation, we can do things without, without it meaning that we want to be in a relationship with you. And it's just total BS, because it's their own insecurity where they're like trying to shame the men that they consciously were trying to draw to them. It's basically like it's them retroactively withdrawing the consent, like, like, oh, I want you to approach me, or just are like retroactively withdrawing consent that they wanted to be intimate. And they do this all the time, and then they wonder why men just walk away now, because they're playing these stupid psychological games. And I say that when you're dealing with these people, they are functionally insane at best. They cannot control their emotions, and they cannot. I like the acronym, can't understand normal thinking. And when you understand that you're dealing with these people, you realize that it's for the best. That it's just like, don't even deal with them at all. Just walk
Mm.
away. Just walk away and focus on yourself, your own happiness, and don't get involved, because it just creates more problems and burdens in your life than it's actually worth.
Yeah, and women created a situation by making every interaction transactional, and then they get mad when they interact with a man and he expects something in return, because they created a society where every interaction is transactional. Like, pay for me to get my nails done, pay for me to get my hairs done. Okay, well, in his mind, there's like an unwritten code that if I'm going to do this, then you're going to come out of the panties later, right? That's the relationship. It's transactional.
The thing is, and these women are playing some crazy games right now. You know, they basically, the guys that they don't actually like are the guys that end up having to spend more. Like, for example, the more that they don't like a guy, the less likely, the more they expect from said guy. So like the more they expect, the more they are going to expect the guy to spend more on a meal, spend more on a date.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
they're like,
definitely.
and the question comes up like, well, why are you ladies doing this? Like, and their response is like, well, if we don't like him, then he has to spend more because he's lucky that we're even speaking to him. He's lucky that we're
Mm,
even having a relationship with them.
it's basically the surcharge for the girlfriend experience. That's what it is.
Girlfriend experience without actually with really me. I mean, like this is why guys say hire
Yeah.
a professional. Let me open up this video because I think this is the one that kind of illustrates it.
I wanted to take you on a first date. Would Pizza Hut be okay?
It depends.
What would it depend on?
How much I like you. It would depend.
So for the guys who you like the least amount, where would you want them to take you?
Like a 5-star steakhouse.
And the guys you like the most, where would you go with them?
I would probably expect less, just because I like them.
But why make the man that you like the least amount invest more up front than the guys who you're more attracted to?
Because he's got to work for it. Since I like him the least amount, he's got to work for it. At least I'm giving him a chance.
You're the prize in a relationship.
Duh. Exactly. Exactly.
Why wouldn't we be?
But the more attractive guy, he's a prize to you.
Not really. They're never a
No. I believe the woman's always a prize. Man should work for a woman.
And what should a woman do for a man?
Oh, that's a good...
And I think like that perfectly sums it up. Like women have just been taking advantage of men forever now, and men are basically realizing she never liked you. The more that the more money that it's costing to be with this woman, not only the less she respects you, but the more she doesn't like you, because basically you're gonna pay premium for something that some other guy is getting for free. You're going on dates with her when when Tyrone and Chad, they meet her, they just met her in the park and they start clapping immediately, like same day. As soon as you are a man, as soon as you are a man of value, it doesn't matter, when you can have a guy who works on himself, who's fairly good looking, goes to the gym, has lots of money, and all of these qualities, and guess what? He's the plan B guy, because women separate men into different classes. There are the guys who are F boys, those are the guys that she loves, and then there are the guys who are beta male providers, and those are actually the guys that she hates. She hates those guys, but she likes to collect them because those are the guys who are paying her bills.
And why would you even go out with somebody who you don't even like that much? Like that's, I don't know. Maybe men do it too. We call it a slow Tuesday, but I don't think most of us don't do it. Like if I don't like you, I'm just not going to go out with you.
Well, it makes sense because think about it. They're, for example, they're going on dates with these guys, and these guys are spending $800 for a meal, and the girl will go up to like an expensive restaurant, steakhouse. She's going to eat well, so she's going to use these men. She's going to use these men to subsidize her living.
It just proves that it's transactional. It has nothing to do with actually having a legitimate relationship or liking the man. It's all transactional. It's just, socially acceptable, ladies of the night.
Exactly what it is. For that kind of money, you might as well just hire a professional. But
exactly.
I made a post and a poll, and I basically said that, modern online dating is just basically Meals on Wheels.
Mm-hmm. Foodie calls.
Let me read some of these supers, because I know
that should be like a delivery service at this point. Foodie calls.
Dude, these women are going to get into so much trouble. Like they've been doing it for years, where they'll call these guys up. They'll get these guys on Tinder, and they'll tell them to bring food, and then when the guy gets to the door, they'll just take the food and tell the guy to leave. And it's like
they'll give you a little hug, and then they'll be like, "Are we done here? Are we done?"
And it's like,
"Are we done now?"
It's a scam, and it's amazing. Like, if you heard that men were doing these things, women want them arrested, and some men have actually been arrested for doing these things. Like when men basically exploit women, like use these same tactics to exploit women, they end up getting arrested. But when women do these things, like they're celebrated. It's amazing. Let me read Damie King's super. He says, I personally I'm personally looking for a queen that can put me in my soft fur era. Oh gosh, grizzle. Oh god. And then we have flat. Have you seen the video of Sugar Baby getting fired for not giving no sugar? I have not seen that.
It's understandable though. I mean, it's a requirement. Part of this, like, it's why you got hired for the job.
Oh gosh. I remember I saw a meme years ago. I wish I could find it. It's so hilarious. It's like every girl likes being wants to be a sugar baby until daddy wants his sugar.
Yeah. And in regards to the transactional relationships, I personally don't have a problem with it as long as everyone's being honest about it. You know what I mean? This is why
Yeah.
I have more respect for like bar girls than I do for like the average woman, the average Christian woman. You know what I mean? Because at least the bar girl's being honest about what she expects. She's being honest with you about it being a transactional thing. You know, it's these
It's
honest little trad cons that are pretending like they're not. It's not transactional. You know, when it is.
it is so sad that you get a that it's true that you can go to these countries and you will get a better deal with a bar girl than you will
And
with a
oh,
woman.
also you don't have to pay girlfriend experience surcharges. That's free. So
You really have. I mean, you can look online. As a man, and I'm sure you can pick up on it now too after traveling a little bit, living in the Philippines. I don't know what your entire adventure has been like, but you can tell when a woman is a bar girl. I can spot. I'm getting better and better at spotting a lot of these women. And it's not hard. Like you just look at the
mhm.
behavior and you can start to pick up on it. And some of these guys from Western society, they're going overseas. They're getting in relationships with these bar girls, and they don't even are former bar girls, and it's like you can tell this is a former bar girl, but the way that these women treat these men is still way superior to the way American women, women in Western society treat men in Western society. It's like even though it's a former bar girl, she still has a lower body count, which is a joke. Still has a lower body count, cooks, cleans, you know, make sure that his belly is full, his balls are empty. And you still, even though she's a bar girl or former bar girl, you're
Yeah,
still getting a better
that's
deal.
that's one of the differences I think between the like Asian women and Western women is that even when the Asian women are behaving in this manner, and keep in mind, most of the time they're doing it because this is survival for them. It's not like in the West where a woman has a choice. She can go get a 9 to 5 or she can go be on OF. She made a choice. She didn't have to
Mhm.
do that. All right. In the Philippines, sometimes it's really all they can do to make money. So they don't actually want to be there. They don't want to be a bar girl. This is just kind of one of the only options they have, or very few options they have. On
No,
top of
you're
that,
yeah.
just because they're a bar girl doesn't change the fact that they still know how to be a wife. They can
Yes,
still cook and clean.
many of
These
those
these
women,
OF girls don't know how to boil water.
m- a lot of these women, their hope is that their dream is that they'll find a foreigner who will take them out of the bar and make them an honest woman, and because
Yeah,
they
that
don't
too.
actually they don't want to be in the bar. They're not, very few women
Yeah,
actually like that
they
life.
they want to be saved, unlike in the West where they don't want to be saved. They actually do want to be saved in the bar in the Philippines and in Asia.
Yeah, they want to be wives, they want to be mothers,
They
they
know
want
they know it's not a respectful career. They're not proud of it. That's why a lot of in the bars now they're starting to. They don't want you to take your camera. They don't want you to take pictures. They're starting to crack down on the vloggers and stuff because the girls they don't want to be on camera because they're not proud of what they do.
No, they want to actually have a future. While you have women
Mhm.
in Western society, they don't understand that only fools is forever. Like they're selling themselves on these platforms. The average only fools model only makes $150 a month. A lot of these girls, they think that they're like the hot stuff, and they get humbled. They go onto only fools or lonely fans, and they don't make a lot of money, or maybe they make a few $1,000s, but it's not a lot more than they would be making if they actually had a real job, and they feel like it's so much money because they're not paying taxes. And then it all catches up to them when Uncle Sam's like, okay, well, we need our cut. And, they can't make this money. And eventually they're no longer making the kind of money they were making before. They end up broke, and what do? They become accustomed to a certain lifestyle. They end up in the streets because they can't go back to the normal world and make money that way, because they don't want to work for $20 an hour, if they'll even get that. A lot of those places won't even hire them because they've been on OnlyFools and LonelyFans.
Yeah.
And
you said they're only making $150 a month on OF.
That's what the average OnlyFools creator makes.
Filipino bar girls are making more than them.
The average OnlyFools creator only makes $150 a month. So they sell themselves online. They put all their garbage online. They sell themselves online, and then they can't even survive off it. But their bodies are all over the internet, and that's forever. They try to remove some of that stuff. A lot of them are not even smart enough to get their content removed. Like, they don't even the internet is forever, and it's like, they can try forever to get rid of it, but it always comes back later on.
There's probably some clause I'm pretty sure there's something in there that says they probably can't remove it after they probably have to keep it up for like a certain amount of years so OF can make money from them, and then they're allowed to remove it or something like that.
I don't
know. Something in the fine print.
I don't know if that's the case, but what I can say is, like, you don't have to pay for OnlyFools or LonelyFans. Whenever I talk about a lot of these OnlyFools girls, all I do is just do a search for, like, if I'm like reading an article about some OnlyFools woman who's like, like Rachel Dolezal, that chick that claimed she was black, the white chick that was like, she's black and was like the chart of like NCWA. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I watched the video that you made on her.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's on OnlyFools. Like, she's on OnlyFools right now, and you don't have to pay for their garbage. All you do is like head over to DuckDuckGo, type their name in, and basically, like, Rachel Dolezal, OF, and boom, you have all of their.
She's kind of old. Is she even attractive? Like,
you know what? I'll be honest.
On a scale from 1 to 10, be honest. I just want to know, because I was looking at her pictures too, and I'm thinking, like, are these just bad pictures? Because she looks ugly to me.
Which pictures did you see? Did you see the pictures with clothes or without?
Just the regular one where she has her frizzy hair all like, yeah, with clothes.
I saw her OnlyFools picture. She actually hit the gym. I was surprised. Like, she's older now, but I was surprised. Her, she has a decent body. Like the kitty. The kitty.
So you would smash.
I wouldn't go that far.
On a slow Tuesday. I mean,
no.
Assuming we live in a perfect world, and
no, I'm good. I'm like
okay.
The thing is, like, I'm at this point in my life where I don't need it anymore. Like, I'm more than happy to, like, some lotion or Vaseline and whatever. Like, I'm a 90s kid, so it's a whole different thing. I don't, but I mean, a lot of Sims would definitely go after it. I was surprised. I was surprised with her. I thought she hit the gym. She really got in shape. The kitty definitely could use some work, but she's older. It's considering how old she is, it could do worse. Does
it look like a pizza pocket with pepperonis hanging out?
You know what? Is
there any like fajita meat hanging out?
I think there was like maybe a little bit, but it wasn't nowhere near. It's compared to, like, even some of these younger girls. It's workable compared to it's workable. Like, but
that's my issue. That's my main pet peeve is I can't if there's like some meat hanging out, like a purple piece of fajita meat. I'm like, oh, no, I can't do it.
Oh,
you're blown out.
No. Yeah, dude, I can't, like, the whole like Blimpie's roast beef thing. No, that's absolutely. That's absolutely gross. And then you've got some white sauce on the side. No, thank you. No, thanks.
Mud flaps? Is that what they're called? Mud flaps?
Oh gosh.
I'm reading the comments. That's actually a good name for it. I'm gonna start calling it mud flaps now.
Mud flaps? Oh gosh.
The pocket mud flaps.
Lana Rhodes. What's it say? Do the drapes match the curtains? Oh gosh. Arby's, yeah, Arby's, exactly. Arby's. Oh gosh, let me see. Meat. Oh, this one's nice. Mystified meat curtains.
Beef curtains. Beef curtains. Gross. Fajita curtains.
Fajita. Let me see. I think I've got some more videos. Let me put this video on. Let's see what this one is.
The first thing we spent on Valentine's Day, and here's how it went. It was fun, but there was more I signed up for a singles event on Valentine's Day, and here's how it went. It was fun, but there was more girls than there were guys. It was definitely like The Bachelor a little bit.
Men don't go to these. Men do not go to singles events.
Going to another singles event, and this is my outfit.
Stop paying money to go to singles events. Men don't go. Stop it.
So I would love to hear from you all as to why you think men don't attend singles events.
Come with us to a Thursday event. No attractive men found.
Once again, modern women get disappointed after attending a single event. The lack of male attendees is the main reason for their disappointment, and some got mad to the point of calling it a waste of time and money.
I signed up for a singles event on Valentine's Day, and here's how it went. I was so nervous, you guys. This was a singles tournament at this paddle club here in New York City. You would play with different partners every game. It was fun, but there was more girls than there were guys. It was definitely like The Bachelor a little bit. There was food and drinks and a DJ, so the vibe was good, but I wasn't really vibing with anyone. So please keep pushing me to put myself out there. Thanks, guys.
You know, it's like women are just, like I said, can't understand normal thinking. They've created this matriarchal, miserable society where men don't even want to be there anymore. Men are just walking away, and they're like, I just don't understand men. Why are men not being masculine anymore? And it's like, I'm seeing things about second wave, like a fifth wave feminism, where fifth wave feminism is pushing to restore like healthy masculinity in men. Why would feminists want to restore healthy masculinity in men?
Exactly. When they say men aren't being masculine anymore, they mean men aren't behaving the way we want them to be. They are trying to tell men how to be men. And I think soft guy era is actually men being men, because one aspect of being a man is doing whatever the hell you want.
What women don't understand about men is that when men basically have had enough, men just get up and walk away. It's like you look at what happened with the African American community, and people they went after these black guys for doing it, where they said, we're going out to go get some milk, and that was it. You never saw this man ever again. They don't understand this is normal behavior for men. They ingrained in men it's very bad. You don't ever abandon your family. But historically, if men are in a toxic society that does not value them, this has been going on for thousands of years. This is how men always have been. If a man is with a family or with people who don't value him, he'll walk out on the woman. He'll walk out on the children, and he'll go start another family somewhere else. It's only because we have a society today where they'll hunt the man down and try to do this. And you're right, dude. You are so damn right when it comes to the whole thing about men fleeing Western society, and doing it on like seeking asylum in other countries to escape debt and things like child support. Like, you're gonna have men going to other countries, literally like they're going over there to escape persecution, and if they go back to the United States, they're going to be arrested.
Well, yeah, especially if they do, like I've been prophesying about travel bans coming back. Once they do that, people are going to be trying to get out, and they're going to the only way for them to get out is to claim asylum, because the United States has a long stretch. They can find you.
Dude, you keep on. I need to go to the bathroom for a quick moment. You just keep on talking, interact with the chat while I step away for a moment.
All right, MK Mobile Gaming in the Philippines, coming at you guys live from the Philippines, Angeles City, Clark City, Balibago, Pampanga, and all the surrounding area. I'm repping the whole neighborhood. What's going on, guys? How's life? Drizzle, guys. Let me put on some cologne that my Filipina bought for me, because I'm in my soft guy era. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear the spray? Oh, okay. I accidentally sprayed it in my mouth. That's okay. Now I got fresh breath. Now my breath smells like leather and strippers. I noticed lots of these young women do not have proper hygiene. Yep, that's true. They be stinking. BBL still be stinking. Just because it's not viral anymore doesn't mean they stop stinking. Because them things are grizzle, drizzle. Yeah, drizzle, guys. Stay in your soft guy era, guys. Just being in your soft guy, and you're a soft guy. It just means you love yourself, and you take care of yourself, and you respect yourself. So don't let these people shame you for being in your soft guy era. Bear pill. Bear pill. Drizzle, drizzle. Yes, I actually do have a channel, so you can go and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much to subscribing to my channel. My channel is about masculinity and also video games and working out, and I do a lot of like religious stuff. So we do a lot of Bible studies on my channel. So that might not be your thing, but we do look at the Bible from a manosphere red pill perspective. So I give you the real truth, not the watered down half lies of matriarchal, westernized Christianity, which basically lies to you and wants you to be a beta male lapdog. So God wants men to be men, and there's nothing wrong with that. And God gave you authority. The Bible literally says you have dominion over all of the earth. That includes women, because as part of the punishment of the fall of man in Genesis chapter 3, it says that your desire will be for your husband, but he will have control over you. That is part of the female punishment of the fall of man, which women do not understand. That is why they are in direct opposition to men having authority, because they are in opposition to God. Does the Lord say that I should have a robot wife? I'm going to do a Bible study on that for you. Okay, that's very important because I know we are going into the robosexual future, and so I'm going to do a very in-depth Bible study on the robosexuals because I know that's going to really affect the Christian community, as it's going to be a big problem. I don't think it'll be too big of a problem. Me personally, I don't judge. If you want to have a robot wife, I'm perfectly fine with that. Because the Bible says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged," and so I don't have anything against robot wives, but we are going to do a very in-depth Bible study about it. Yes, women's desire. Well, it actually there's another translation that says the women's desire will be to control her husband, which actually makes more sense when we look at the way society is today. So women don't understand that they actually are living under the curse that's been placed on them because of the fall of man.
MK, I'm back. Something interesting. It's strange though, like regarding that whole curse thing. I often say that women God put women here to test men, and when men failed that test, He left them here to punish us. When we talk about the curse, what was man's curse? And then I'll go into it. Just tell me, what was the curse that God put upon men?
Well, it was to because when Adam was in the garden, everything was provided for them. Well, first the first curse was death, right? So there was no death before the fall of man. So both the male and the female, now we have death, we die. Secondly, for the man, it was to work harder, right? He didn't really have to work that hard in the garden before, because it says you will work by the sweat of your brow, which means you're going to be working harder now. That's his punishment. And the woman's punishment is to give birth in pain, which now we have technology and medication that takes that away from her. Let me get my Bible just to be more clarify. So, and then also they were thrown out of the garden.
It's the crazy thing about the curse is that, well, God punishes man and He's like, well, you're gonna die now, and it's like, we just accept that. Well, not much we could do about that. It's just a part of life. He says you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to grind for the rest of your life, and we just accept that. Like, well, we find purpose in the work that we do. It is just a part of life. And if you think about it, the worst curse.
Well, God never intended work to be like miserable. Work is actually supposed to be enjoyable for a man. Because the Bible also says if a man doesn't work, he shall not eat. We're not just supposed to do nothing. Like, God didn't just create us to do nothing, because God did say that Adam had dominion over the garden. and over the fish and over the beast and over everything, which means he was doing things, right? He was going out and catching fish and planting probably something, but it wasn't like burdensome to him, you know?
Yeah.
Now, when we go to work, we hate it. That's the punishment.
But you know, the crazy thing about it is that if you notice, a big part of that burdensome comes from being in a relationship. You know, as a result of being married and having to provide for a family, we a lot of that burden comes from that. If we don't get married, we don't have children, we can find ways to take work that is not so burdensome. And in some cases, we can find work that is actually play that we absolutely enjoy. It's yes, we do get tired, but it's the point I'm trying to, and even when work is burdensome, we can still control that. We can basically say, well,
Mhm.
we can create balance. I truly believe that, for men, it's basically the ups and downs of life, and we just roll with the punches. But the most difficult thing that feels like a curse is not so much having to work hard or work long hours, not having, worrying that, okay, one day we're going to pass away. I think the most, I think the curse aspect of it is the relationship with the woman and the misery that women bring into our lives. Like, that is the curse in and of itself. We can deal with having to work hard for the rest of our lives. We can deal with the notion that one day we are going to pass away, but it is the pain and suffering that is inflicted upon us by women in society that brings, and just women in general, that brings the most grief and pain in our lives. And it's always been like that, I think.
Mhm. Well, one thing I say about Christians is that the majority of Christian men actually love their wives more than they love God. And that is, I'm not saying it like this isn't biblical, this isn't in the Bible, but just from what I've seen in Christianity, I do think that God wants to know if you love him more than you love your wife. And even the Bible says in the New Testament, it says, if you love your wife and children, your mother and father more than you love God, you are not fit to inherit the kingdom of God. So, it, like I said, this isn't actually biblical, but it could be that the woman is a test to see if the man actually loves God more than he
Here's
loves his wife.
here's something that I often contemplate, and I'm glad that I finally have you here. We can talk about this. I get into a lot of flack with the Christians, and there's no one that's created more problems on my channel than the Christians. Like, the Christians actually do come after my content. The
No,
Christians,
yeah, Christians hate masculinity. I mean, I talk about it all the time on my channel. They absolutely hate masculinity. They hate men having any kind of authority. They want men to be domesticated beta male lapdogs. That's all they want. They want you to take responsibility, pay all the bills, and not have any authority. That is Christian masculinity.
my question regarding Christians is this. So, for example, I often say that, when it comes to relationships with God and with relationships with man, God does not so much care about your relationship with human beings as he does care about your relationship with him. God is a very
Exactly. Well,
jealous
yeah.
God. God is a very jealous God. And if
Yes.
God knows that in your heart, all you care about is him, and you would burn the entire world to the ground, but he knows that in your heart you love and will obey him and submit to him. The Christians
Mm,
will tell you that you're headed to hell, because if you do not love your brother, then you do not love God, and you are
mm,
trading and you're giving up your salvation. And I don't truly believe that. They try to make it sound like if you don't love if you that the love of God is tied to the love of man, and that your submission to God is tied to your submission to man. And it's like, you're gonna if you do not if you have any hate towards men, it doesn't matter if you love God, because you cannot love God without loving men. And there's something very, very warped about this.
Well, the Bible says that God looks to the heart of the man. And so God knows your thoughts and what your true intentions, regardless of what you try to pretend or portray to the world around you. And look, we're not going. There's people I don't like. I'm going to be honest. As much as I know the Bible and read the Bible, there's people I don't like. Matt Walsh gets on my freaking nerves. I kind of want to punch the guy in the face because I think he's a beta male trad cuck. But but I mean, do I hate him? No, I don't hate him. I just don't like him. So there's a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing, dude. My view is this: even if you hate all of humanity, but God sees that that you submit to him, you are humble before him, you know, versus someone who loves humanity but doesn't really love God. You're the one going, God, there's this this is and this is
No,
what
no,
I
yeah,
believe.
I do agree that your relationship with God comes first and definitely surpasses all your other relationships with people. Like
Yeah.
if you're not having a relationship with God first and foremost, how can you even begin to love other people? That's where the issue really is because most people who don't love other people, like these Christians who are saying because you don't love your brother, their relationship with God is not right. Because if they wouldn't be making accusations, if they had the love of Christ in them. This is why I always say don't judge lest ye be judged, because this is a sign that someone's their faith or their religion is a little bit off.
You know,
Because most people who are the ones who are the most judgmental are the ones who probably have the least biblical understanding.
I truly believe, I don't use the word tyrant, but you've mentioned this before, that when it comes to God in heaven, like it's his way or the highway. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that like people don't seem to get it. Like you're, you're not put here to love men. Like, there's the whole story of, what do you call that guy? Of Cain and Abel. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, I still truly believe that if Cain turned and said, God, look in my heart, you know that I love you the most, even though I killed the bastard, I still love
Hmm.
you. In
Hmm.
the end, yeah, God will let Cain suffer the consequences of his actions, but he'll be first in line for he'll be first in line for heaven. Because in the
Well,
end,
well, God didn't even kill Cain. God could have killed Cain right then and there, and he didn't. He let him live. He had mercy on him.
yeah, yeah, you know, and he said even the mark that he placed upon Cain, it was
Yeah,
not
the
so much.
mark was to protect him, actually.
Yeah, it was not a punishment, was it?
No, it was a protection from other people who were going to try and kill Cain for what he did.
So I mean, if God really hated Cain for what he did, he could have just killed him right then and there. And God has done these types of things before too.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, so
Well, like I said, it's because God looks to the heart of the man. Cain was struggling with jealousy. That doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, right? Lots of people get jealous, right? In fact, Christians get jealous a lot. So if God punished everybody for getting jealous, then everybody would be just, getting sent to hell.
and then at the same time, I'm not commending what Cain did. They try to characterize it like, well, maybe God did God favored Abel more because Abel was his heart was better with God. But if you if you kind of think about this, Cain was jealous of the relationship that Abel had with God.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
And
it's a good. It's not saying it's
this
a
is a
good.
major problem in modern day Christianity. Even though we're talking about literally the beginning of the Bible, this still happens today. Modern Christians get very jealous of other Christians who have a closer relationship with God. Still happens today.
But now, if you think about it, though, if God looks at it like this, if there's anything to be jealous that God will wink at, is being jealous of God's love. Because
Mhm.
if you are jealous of God's love, then that means that you want His love. Am I wrong or right?
Mhm. Well, it's because Christians, like people, they want God to bless them. Like they see you getting blessed and they see God doing things for you and answering your prayers, and they get jealous of that. And it's because you're living a different lifestyle. Like
Mhm.
for me, let me just say, I'll try to use myself. Like sometimes I always say, like, oh, I pray and God answers my prayer, and I feel kind of spoiled by God because I get a lot of things that I ask for. And the Bible says you have not because you ask not. But my point is, let's say you have kids, right? You have two kids. One of your kids loves you, spends time with you, they always want to be with you, but your other kid doesn't really want to hang out with you, right? Who are you more inclined to bless, right? Who are you more inclined to have favor on? It's the same way with like people always say God doesn't have favorites. And I'm not saying God has favorites. I'm just saying the people who are actually spending time with God, reading the Bible, praying, have a relationship with God are going to get more blessed than the ones who don't, because you're not spending time with God, or
Well,
you're not even trying to to live the way God wants you to live. That's
Well,
another thing too. Christians want God to bless them, but they don't want to live by God's rules.
now here's the thing, MK. You're not wrong, but also you have to be careful with that because, being a follower of God, a lot of people, a lot of people who live by God live very hard lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not always peaches and cream. It doesn't always go the way that you say it. There are a lot of people who live terrible lives. They're not close to God, and they're wealthy and they have all of these things. And then there are a lot of people who live by God's rules and live by God's wisdom and teachings, and their lives are hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I'm blessed. For me, I'm just speaking. My life could have been worse. I think God's been taking care of me, looking after me, making sure I don't do anything too stupid. And so I've been blessed.
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. But I think it's important that people don't think that just because you live by God doesn't mean that it doesn't mean your life is going to be easy, or you're not going to go through sometimes periods of extreme hardship, pain, and suffering.
Mm-hmm. No, well, one thing that I have to deal with is loneliness, because when you actually have a close relationship with God, you actually don't relate to other people as well anymore, especially Christians. Like, Christians don't like me because of the stuff. Christians don't even like the Bible. I can read a scripture out of the Bible, like, wives, submit to your husbands. Christians will hate that, but it's in the Bible, and they'll hate me just for saying it. Or they'll very much not like me or disagree with me. They'll be like, oh, well, that's not what God meant to say. And I'm like, okay, well, you tell me what God meant to say, because apparently God makes a lot of mistakes to you Christians.
There's this thing right here. Jonathan said this: Jesus told us to endure until the champion comes, his arrival. I don't personally think that Jesus is coming anytime soon. And it's not that I believe strongly in Jesus. I do, but I don't think he's popping up anytime soon. My reasoning for saying this is, you look at history, you look at the Bible and the things that are in the Bible, and they'll tell you, like, for example, the day will come where multiple women will hold on to one man. And the reality is that these men who wrote these things, it's not that they have this amazing insight. I often say, why, smart men learn from their own mistakes. Wise men learn from the mistakes of others. The wise men that wrote the Bible, they are basically recanting history and the events that have happened before. If you look at the fall of Rome was one of the greatest empires ever, maybe only second to what we have today. And you can see that what happened with Rome is that basically the men walked away, the women got no fault divorces, they tore down society, and we fell into 1,000 years of darkness. And you really want to tell me that when the Roman Empire fell, Jesus did not come at that point? When the bubonic plague hit, Jesus did not come at that point? When I'm just going through these things: the Spanish-American War, the Civil War, the Revolution. Go ahead.
You're right about the Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1, the 7 women cling to one man. That is a prophecy that still has to come to pass before Jesus can come, which is why I also agree with you that there's still time, a lot of time.
Bro,
all right?
It's already happened. It's already 7 women will cling to one man. Guys, bro, this is something that has happened already. These people, the person that wrote that, he was not seeing the future. He was speaking of the past, okay? Because nations rise and fall, and this type of thing has already happened. Okay, it happened in Romans. It happened in Rome. It's happened in multiple societies. These are normal cycles. These are
so we also believe that history repeats itself, so it could happen again.
Absolutely. That's the reason why they wrote it there, because history repeats itself. There's this notion, for example,
which is why we have Project 2025. We're actually about to enter into the Isaiah chapter 4 prophecy because of Project 2025 next year. That's the beginning of the prophecy.
Here's the thing, bro. Listen to me. these secret societies and people trying to control the world and all of this stuff. This has been happening for thousands of years. It's easy to feel like this is the worst it's ever been. Bro, it's been bad before. These are cycles. And the notion that Jesus is gonna come and rescue us from our mortgages, or rescue us from destroying one another, or rescue us, and like, when other countries are suffering and going through hell, everyone's like, no one seems to care. When you look at countries like, other countries, but when America or Western society is on the brink of collapse, then that's when Jesus is coming. That's when our version of Jesus is going to come and rescue us. Like, he doesn't care about any of these other countries that have literally collapsed, and where where millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people have passed away because of all these horrible things. But no, he's going to come and save Western society. Like, that makes literally no sense whatsoever.
Well, because Western Christians don't think outside of the West. They don't think outside of their own borders. Most of them are just completely oblivious. They can't find the Philippines on the map. So what do you expect them to think? They really just believe that their little American world is all that exists, especially if they've never traveled outside of the country. They never take the time to think about the world outside of America.
I truly believe that we could be literally facing the end. Like, we could fast forward tens of thousands of years from now, let's say even millions of years, and the notion of Jesus is still around even then, and they would still be saying, the Christians, if they are around a million years from now, they would still be saying a million years from now that he's coming any moment. Do you agree with me?
Well, yeah, they're always going to be saying that. I mean,
it's craziness. It's craziness. It's craziness.
That's part of their religion, which, I mean, I personally believe as well. I'm just saying, I don't think Christians want to use it as like a fear tactic. Like, Jesus is going to come tomorrow. Everyone better get saved right now. Right? They're trying to fear you into getting saved, which is complete opposite of God. God loves you into being saved, not fear you into being saved. So, like I said, I personally believe Isaiah chapter 4 has to happen before Jesus can come back, which hasn't happened. We're starting to see it happening with the laws being changed, with the paternity rights, the alimony going away, the Project 2025. So are we getting close? Yes. But are we as close as the Christians want you to think we are? No, we're not.
Something very interesting I should say, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but there are no dead people in heaven. If you look at what the Bible seems to say, Jesus came back to life, and then he went to heaven. God took, I don't remember those, he took like two, there was like two people he took to heaven that never saw death. Who were they?
Enoch was one of them, and I think there was a prophet. Was it Isaiah? No, it wasn't. One of the prophets. I don't remember.
I never knew it was multiple people. Then I learned recently it was like two people. Like, I mean, so it's kind of interesting. Like, when we die,
Elijah. I think it was Elijah. It was Elijah. Yeah.
Elijah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
I mean, this notion that, when we pass away, we're going to go see Jesus. Really, that's not true, is it?
When we pass away, we're going to go see Jesus?
Yes.
I think we have to see Jesus when we pass away.
We don't go to heaven, dude. Well, I mean, think about it. Do we go to heaven when we die?
I think there's a heaven that we have to go to for a little while before God. If you die before Jesus comes back, then you kind of have to go to heaven until Jesus comes back to earth and recreates heaven on earth. And then we all come back and live on earth.
Or, so you don't think that we're dead when we're dead?
Well, because there's a separation between, so dead is only the flesh. You have to separate between the soul and the spirit and the flesh.
So when Jesus passed away,
so let's think about it in terms of consciousness.
Right?
Is our consciousness dead? No, but our body is dead. So,
yeah, but here's the thing: when Jesus died, and then he came back, he went before his Father. So, I mean, if he had died and gone back to God, then why did he need to go before God again?
because he was a sacrificial lamb. He had to give God his blood.
You don't see what I'm trying to say, though, do you? He died, and then he came. So if it was like acting like he didn't just see him. Like, you see what I'm trying to get at? Like, if when he passed away the first time, when he passed away, right? Because it was only one time.
Yeah.
When he passed away, technically he would have went to God, wouldn't he?
Yeah. So you're saying, why did he come back to earth and talk to the disciples and then go back to heaven?
Well, they characterize it like, he wanted to go and see his father after he came back, as though he hadn't just seen him then.
Well, because Jesus in the flesh, because Jesus is no longer in the flesh after he died. He's no longer in the flesh.
Yeah.
So he can't really coexist on earth if you're not in the flesh. The world is just for us fleshly people, right? Or maybe the demonic spirits, but the spirit belongs in heaven. The flesh is here for earth. So after Jesus' death, he was no longer in the flesh. Then he was 100% God again. He wasn't both God and man. And I understand this is confusing, difficult to understand for a lot of people.
But then how could he leave earth and then go to heaven if he was no longer in the? There's some strange stuff going on here, man. You know what I'm saying, right?
And we're not actually meant to understand all this stuff until we die, until we get there. Then we'll have the complete full understanding.
Yeah,
but if we understood everything right now, then that would mean that we wouldn't need to have faith.
I hear you. It's just kind of strange. Like, he dies and then he goes and sees God. Then he comes back, and then in his physical form, he leaves and sees God again in his physical form. So he went to heaven in the spiritual form, and then he came back as a human being, and then went to God in the flesh. Right?
I think that Jesus, after he died, he was no longer in the flesh. He came back in a human form because that's the only way that our human minds can understand. Right? It's just like the angels. The angels came in a human form too, because God knows that our minds cannot comprehend outside of what we already know. Right? Angels don't have to appear to us as humans. They could appear to us as whatever they want. They can appear to us as birds or whatever, or with big giant wings, like we think angels actually look, because we made that up. But angels in the Bible don't have wings. They've always appeared to people in human form.
Okay, so are you saying that when Jesus came back, his physical form was no longer really a human being?
I'm saying he was using his physical form because that's how they recognize him. Remember, there's actually a story where when Jesus comes back, he's walking with the disciples, but he actually changed how he looked, so they didn't recognize him.
Really?
So, yeah, you can. That's in the Bible. You can look that up. So it's because our minds can't comprehend. So because our human minds are too small and frail to understand. So he has to take this form because that's what they already saw him as.
So what happened
to recognize him?
So his physical body, the body that he was in when he passed away, what happened to that body? Did he come back to that original body, or did he not?
Well, that body wasn't there because they went to go look for it and it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, so they said that he rose within. So we're led to believe that he rose again from that body, just like how Lazarus.
But the same thing happened. The same thing happened to Moses' body. They couldn't find Moses' body either because God took it.
Okay, well look at Lazarus. Lazarus rose from the dead, did he not?
Yeah.
So did Jesus rise from the dead the same way that Lazarus rose from the dead?
Like in the flesh?
Yes.
So he's still in the flesh. That's what I'm saying. When Jesus came back, he's not in the flesh anymore. He's using a fleshly form, but he's not flesh anymore. Then he's God. He's in the spirit.
Okay, so he was not like Lazarus.
No, because Lazarus just came back to life in the flesh. God brought him back to Jesus. Jesus brought him back to life in the flesh.
Okay, so when Jesus came back, he did not come back in the flesh.
So he brought his flesh back to life. Actually, yeah, Jesus if Jesus had come back in the flesh, then he wouldn't have been able to change his appearance when he went to go see the disciples.
But did they not say that he still had the marks of the cross on his hands when he returned?
He did have the marks on them. I mean, these are things that he revealed to them to prove to them that he was Jesus. Yeah, he's both flesh and spirit.
Look at this comment. Look at this comment. Rock says, "Angry guy, please tread carefully, bro. This world is getting very dangerous, my brother." This is the thing. Like, it's guys. MK. I tell you about Christianity. It's scary because the moment you start to talk about these subjects, it's like there are people who want you to be quiet.
Yeah, I get a lot of hate comments too on my channel. They're like, "The Bible is the worst book ever," and I'm like, "Okay, dude, I'm sorry. You have issues with God."
I don't know. I tell you, I don't know, man. I'm so sick and tired of how things are in Western society, the breakdown and everything. I personally just want to walk away from this thing, and like you said, there eventually will there likely will be travel bans because they're not going to let all of these men abandon the U.S.
No, they can't. That's their whole taxpayer base, and just the whole infrastructure as well.
But
and the military. So
the thing is that, like, especially with the boomers retiring, as the boomers leave, a lot of these AI is going to take a lot of jobs, but a lot of the jobs that need to be done, infrastructure and so forth, AI cannot do these jobs.
Yeah, but AI can't go fix the plumbing.
What?
AI can't go fix the plumbing.
Exactly. And it's like men are just going to be chilling, and 40% of women will be single and childless come 2030. And that's a lot of women. Women are going to end up in an extremely difficult position, large amounts of debt, and all they're going to be doing is just like raging against men. And as society is collapsing and crashing around us, men are just going to be sitting around doing nothing while getting all the blame for what's happening in society. It's going to be kind of hilarious. And I think that as this happens, more and more men are going to start looking for ways just to tune out the world, like disconnect. Like, as men start to retreated to their homes, they're going to start to unplug from the internet. Like you're going to start to see guys that are going to unplug. Like, basically they pay their rent or do whatever they have to do, and they're at home, and that's it. They're inside, they're playing video games, they're watching TV and so forth, but they're beginning to find ways to unplug more and more so that they don't have to engage. And the world around them will basically can basically go to hell. And I think that that's going to have one of the largest impacts on society as women begin to suddenly discover that men are no longer even paying attention to them or society, and basically just stop caring entirely, because they're basically, the guys are like, "Oh, well, holy cow, I'm here at home, I'm playing games, I'm relaxing, I'm watching TV or, well, YouTube, whatever, and I'm basically like disengaging, listen to angry guy videos, and I'm basically shutting down the dialogue. I don't care what happens. I don't care what the world is doing. As long as I can have food, I can take care of myself. I don't care." And I think that that's going to be one of the biggest shockers for women. It's going to feel, because they're living off the simp economy, but the simp economy is draining right now. A lot of the simp economy, especially with instability, these simps just don't have that kind of money anymore. And simps are like, a lot of the simp economy is moving overseas. Like, it's already moved online, but it's moving overseas. But it's moving overseas.
Simps are winning in the Philippines. They love some simps in the Philippines.
It's moving overseas, and you're seeing more and more of the Filipinos, like, they're going hard for that simp economy right now. They are going hard for the simp economy. The foreign women are setting themselves up, and they will compete for these simps. And women in Western society, they have nothing to offer. Like, they're literally deers in a headlight right now. Like, they don't realize how miserable life is when you don't have men to be there for you. Women cannot live with other women. They think they're like the whole golden girl thing, like, oh, all these women living together and in their golden years. Like, bro, they would drive each other insane. They could not live together.
Another thing about all those golden girls is none of them ever had men. They only had like boyfriends every now and then. They never had like a steady man.
Yeah.
So I think they were all widowed or something too.
You remember the oldest one, like the one like there was B author and then B author's mother. She was hilarious, wasn't she?
Hmm. Yeah, it was a funny show.
It was a funny show, but like they think they're gonna have like they're all gonna be like living their best lives of like posting on Insta. Can you imagine like 50, 60-year-old women? Like and they don't even have to be that old. Like like imagine like all these older women like in 10 years posting on Instagram like, oh look at us, we're living together, we're living single, we're single ladies, we don't need no
Hmm.
men, and they're all like crying each other, they're like crying themselves to sleep because there are no men in the house, they don't want to
Yeah.
do the chores, and it's like they Social Security is not holding them down enough. They're getting to arguments with each other. They're acting like, oh, we love each other, but they can't stand each other. Women cannot
Hmm.
women cannot tolerate the nonsense from other women. Women don't comprehend this, that women cannot tolerate each other. They don't live Most women cannot live together for long periods of time. They just can't
No,
do it.
yeah, just like that clip you just played with that lady talking about how, like, especially if, and they're jealous of each other too. So if one of them gets a simp, the other ones are going to be jealous of her getting a simp, and they're going to be like, oh, that guy is, he's no good, and they're just going to try and make them break up. But then, like, behind her back, they're going to be trying to sleep with her simp.
Mm-hmm.
So then,
Hmm.
then they already have them. Have you heard about the mommunes? I think that's what they call them, the mommunes.
I haven't heard of that.
It's like the single mothers that are all living together in like one house.
Hmm.
There was a YouTube video about it. I'll try to find it and send it to you. The mommunes.
The mom muse. We're gonna remove this. I don't know, man. It's just like sick out there. Like what we're seeing from women in Western society, like it's like no men in their right mind is gonna want to jump into a relationship and get involved in this type of nonsense. And then, and like you're talking about the whole robot thing a little while ago. I think let's put that on. Let's watch the Don't Date
All right.
Robots.
You watch that. I'm gonna go take a break. I'll be right back.
She can't. She's just a machine that.
Stay away from our women. You've got metal fever, boy. Metal fever.
Well, so what if I love a robot? It's not hurting anybody.
My God, he never took middle school hygiene. He never saw the propaganda film.
It's just lucky I keep a copy in the VCR at all times. Ordinary human dating. It's enjoyable and it serves an important purpose. But when a human dates an artificial mate, there is no purpose, only enjoyment. And that leads to tragedy.
Neato, a Marilyn Monroe bot.
Ooh, you're a real dreamboat.
Billy every teen.
Harmless fun? Let's see what happens next.
Billy, do you want to walk your dog?
No thanks, Mom. I'd rather make out with my Monroe bot.
Billy, do you want to get a paper route and earn some extra cash?
No thanks, Dad. I'd rather make out with my Monroe bot.
Billy, do you want to come over tonight? We could make out together.
Gee, Mavis, your house is across the street. That's an awfully long way to go for making out.
Did you notice what went wrong in that scene? Ordinarily, Billy would work hard to make money with his paper route. Then he'd use the money to buy dinner for Mavis, thus earning a slim chance to perform the reproductive act. But in a world where teens can date robots, why should he bother? Why should anyone bother? Let's take a look at Billy's planet a year later. Where are all the football stars? And where are the biochemists? They're trapped in the soft, vice-like grip of robot lips. All civilization was just an effort to impress the opposite sex. And sometimes the same sex. Now, let's skip forward 80 years into the future. Where's Billy?
Farewell.
The next day, Billy's planet was destroyed by aliens. Have you guessed the name of Billy's planet? It was Earth. Don't date robots!
Brought to you by
the Space Pope.
At the end of the day, Billy lived a damn good life. All right, he lived a good life. He enjoyed himself. It was 80 years. 80 years after he got his Robo Babe, he lived a very good
Uh,
life. He dated. Listen, the planet wasn't that bad. Well, it was bad. The planet was bad, but Billy, everything had gone to hell. But Billy lived his best life. He had everything that he needed. Like we said, like I said, a man can live happily in a shoebox at the side of the road. He had his Robo Babe. They chilled for 80 years. He was, at the start, he was maybe around 16 years old. So he lived until a ripe old age of 100. Society went to hell, and the only people that were really impacted was the state and women. And this is something that I don't
mhm.
think the state seems to understand this, because the state operates on such high levels of greed that it doesn't comprehend if men don't create wealth, then there is no wealth for the state. If the state and private companies begin gathering up all the cookies, men abandon the cookie box and say, okay, well, we're going to focus on Pokemon cards. And if they start gathering up all the Pokemon cards, then they abandon the Pokemon cards and they say, okay, well, we'll just move on to something else. We'll just basically, this is how you destroy industries. This is how you destroy currencies. And women, basically, they want it all. They wanted everything, and men basically are going to let the Jenga puzzle collapse on them.
Well, this is actually deeper, darker humor because it's actually true. Like, if you're a red pill guy, you can see the deeper, darker humor of this video clip. But the average person will just watch this and think, "Oh, that's funny," robot sex, whatever. But it's actually funny because it's kind of almost true. Like it can actually happen in the future. The robosexuals or the AI sexuals,
I mean, no, it's
and they know it. They
funny.
know it's going to destroy society. That's why they do this. They made this clip in a way where they're saying don't date robots, because they know everything they just enacted in that clip would actually happen if you dated robots. If men dated robots,
I mean, it's what's
it's funny
funny.
because it's not a joke. It's true. It's funny because it's true.
It's the truth of the matter is that outside of physical intimacy, when it comes to the aspect of interaction and so forth, you know there are these experiences that women cannot provide. Imagine having to put up with a woman who's going to get older, that's going to be on a certain time of the month, has these bad behaviors, is lying, manipulative, versus you can just have augmented reality eventually, and you have your AI girlfriend who's an elf. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I like elf girls. And I can date a baddie elf girl, that's with me, talking to me, having these great interactions, custom just to my personality, and I don't have to put up with any BS. And it doesn't cost me. It costs me very little money compared to the lifetime of being in a relationship with a bio chick. And it's like a lot of men are going to think like that because they're going to say, well, I can have these wonderful experiences with AI that I cannot have with a real woman. And you have if you want physical intimacy, a lot of guys are like, well, there's some Vaseline lotion and a couple napkins, and you're good to go with that. And then you're basically just talking to your AI girlfriend, and with generative
Mhm.
AI, you're going to be having natural conversations with these things. And then you can slap on a VR headset and go into a virtual world, go on a date with her, have coffee, go to the park, go to the beach, spend your entire day with your girl, and not have to put up with the nonsense of of being in Western society. And it's like, it's even guys who are like, well, there's the Filipinas, and the AI will never replace the Filipina. A lot of guys, they think that the Filipinos are superior. Filipinos are just women. They're just more keen and more hip to the game, but they destroy lives just like other women, and they still give you problems. They still give you tampo. And for a
Mhm.
lot of men, if you're a man who's taking care of himself, because traditionally only 30% of men would only reproduce. As more men are walking away and they're taking care of themselves and they're living longer, happier lives, you can spend your entire day with your AI girlfriend, going on virtual, going on trips, across the world using VR, and it doesn't cost you almost anything, and you're much happier. You're having conversations, and this and you and it a lot of women don't understand how easy it is for them to be replaced by a machine, and that's very much what the state also wants.
Yeah, because the machine knows how to stroke the man's ego.
Hmm.
The machine is learning you while you're talking to it.
The crazy thing is that the arguments, we already know what arguments women are going to make about AI, robo babes. They're going to basically say that these things are dangerous for women, they exploit women, and they'll bring up children into it, even when in reality it has literally nothing to do with that. And they're not going to be able to stop the tech, because this is basically incredible tech that will control men. It'll further basically just have men become passive and allow the state to do whatever it wants in society. Women think that they have power. They don't have power. All right. Special rights, rights without responsibilities, those are privileges. All right. And privileges can be taken away at any given moment. The crazy thing is that women are they're on this power trip. They've been living off the simp economy. The simp economy is drying up. And as soon as we end up in a situation where the government's like now on its tyranny trip, and the state is on this tyranny trip, and it's like, okay, well, we can do what we want now. Women think that they're going to be at the forefront of it, and they don't realize that they're the ones who are going to that are going to have it the hardest, because men are their providers and their protectors, and they traded their providers and their protectors for the state. So it's going without men to stand up for them, the state will do whatever it wants with them. And they think that they're going to use shame, insults, and guilt to force men to stand up to tyranny and all this other stuff, and they don't understand it doesn't work like that. Like, you chased men off, and you think you're going to bring them back using shame, insults, and guilt. This is when you realize that they can't understand normal thinking.
Yeah, I talked about it on my channel, where like in regards to like population decline. So when women are no longer having babies, they're making themselves useless to the government that supports them. And then once they're no longer useful to their government, the government is going to do away with them, cut all their financial programs, or find another use for them, which is probably going to be like, the draft. You're either going to make babies, or you're going to go to war and fight a war for us, because we will find a way to make you useful to us. You are property.
That's the thing. That's the thing, because the authority
women don't have a problem being the government's property. They just have a problem being the property of an individual man.
And that's the thing. They don't seem to understand that the authority was transferred from the man to the government, and the government only cares as much about women as their ability to extract wealth and resources from men, and then reallocate those wealth and resources to the government. Child support, that's reallocation of wealth and resources to the man. When women put men in jail, that's another form of reallocation of wealth. All of the things that women do, marriage, divorce court, alimony, all things, the court gets paid, the state gets paid. That's again reallocation of resources from the government, from the man to the state, because now the man is on the hook, so the man has to work extra hard for longer periods of time to pay those things. So it's basically a form of slavery. But when women, the women don't understand that the government does not care that much about single women. If a single woman is not able to reallocate wealth from men to the state, then the government's basically like, then you don't serve much of a purpose for us. You're not doing anything. And without the simp economy, all of these single women, single childless women, they're going to find just how much the government actually cares about them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you said, they're just getting special treatment now because they're making babies and future taxpayers for the government. But and as we see that decline, the population decline, and it's kind of like not as bad in the West because of immigration, and that's actually the main reason. People don't understand that. The normies don't understand. They're all like, no, immigration is bad and blah blah blah. Okay, well, if you don't have immigration, they're going to raise your taxes because there's no taxpayers. because they're hoping that these immigrants are going to assimilate into Western culture, which the majority of them are not. The government doesn't know that, but because they're not in touch with the common immigrant. They don't know how the common immigrant thinks. The common immigrant thinks, I'm going to go to America. I'm going to make enough money to build me a house back in Mexico, and I'm going to move back to Mexico.
Exactly.
That's what the average immigrant is thinking. They're not going to assimilate into Western culture.
Listen, I've lived in Mexico.
Not to mention all the money they make is going to be under the table. They're not paying any taxes on.
I've lived in Mexico. All of these people own houses. Even the poorest of people own a house in Mexico. It may not be the nicest house, but they all own their own. They all own their own houses over there. Like the brokest of brokey owns a house in Mexico. And the cost of I look at the Uber Eats app, and they're charging like $5 for a 30-cent taco. Like literally in Mexico, like this is a 30-cent. I would pay 30 cents for this taco in Mexico. They're charging $5 for this 30-cent taco in Mexico, and it's not even as good as the taco that you would get in Mexico. And it's like, I remember being in Mexico and with other Americans, and this American dude saying to me like, yeah, man, this food is amazing. We don't get this over there. And this was years ago. This was like 5-6 years ago. Dude was like, yeah, we don't get this over there in America. And it's like the truth. Like it's like the lifestyle. We don't eat as well. We don't live as well. Yeah, it's like, when it comes to electronics, buying things like phones and stuff, that's where things are different. Like you can get better, cheaper electronics in the US and stuff. But when it comes to the lifestyle, the rent, the people, for example, living overseas, I never really had this fear of like, I'm living overseas and like, a woman's going to M2 me or she's going to call the cops or something. It's completely different. I'm not saying these things don't happen, but it's just so much more rare. And it's like, it's like, you kind of feel like, yeah, what are the cops going to do? It's you don't have that fear like, a woman can destroy your life as easily overseas as you can in the United States. And it's very, very strange where, because you would think, well, here I am as a foreigner in another country. And the most you're going to worry about is getting ripped off by someone over there. But but in terms of like, and I'm sure you feel it too in the Philippines, you don't have that same level of fear that women can destroy you as easily.
Well, yeah, there's like, there's police, but the police are not going to show up for a domestic dispute. That's not their priority. And, there has to be something really, really bad happening for the police to show up. And domestic dispute is not something that they deal with here in the Philippines. They would just be like, they would probably, if a woman called the police for a domestic dispute, the police would probably be like, what did you do to make him beat you?
There's this guy right here, Jesus. Let me see if I can get this. Jesus, these guys are just jumping through the comments. He says all countries mostly have M2 now. Angry. I understand that, and there's some countries where it's worse. Like Brazil is just terrible right now, to my understanding. But it's not the same in every country, and a lot of these guys don't realize it's not like the United States where they can just destroy your life instantly. Like there's so many ways where they can destroy your life. It's just not the same. Like you don't have
the culture.
That
the culture depends on, like, the country depends on how much Western influence is in that culture, country. Which is why I always don't recommend people go to South America, because I think it's too close to America. They have too much Western influence there, which is why I advocate for Asia. But also it depends on the court system as well. So, like, for example, in the Philippines, there's a lot of laws, but the court is not gonna, they're just too lazy to enforce a majority of the laws. Right? So like a M2 thing, if you take that to a judge in the Philippines, they're just gonna laugh at you and be like, okay, go away, stop wasting our time. Like, this is stupid. So
yeah, it's all right. So like, for example, Jesus.
Not to mention, there's also, if a woman were to Me Too someone in the Philippines, they have to pay out of their own pocket for a lawyer and the court cost. It's not like free. The reason it's so easy in America is because it's all free for them. It's free for them to make accusations.
Look at this comment right here from Jesus Nerd. I have friends, me too, by Bayesian women. Look at Fresh and Fit, and look at Fresh and Fit. The Asian woman falsely accused us, falsely alleged that she was pregnant. Did you hear about that whole Fresh and Fit debacle?
Yeah, I did.
And now the woman has basically lost the baby. Here's the thing: overseas, a woman can make these types of allegations if she wants to, but as a foreigner, a lot of foreigners will just pick up and leave. And even if she doesn't make it, it's not like the United States where she can try, because this is basically shaking down the man. She can say whatever she wants overseas, but a man is not going to just hand her over any money, and she's not going to be able to like go on, go to the, it's basically America. Western society has become a place where women can easily extort money from men. It's not as easy overseas.
Yeah, they calling out these specific situations where you have, first of all, Fresh and Fit are famous, they're wealthy, and secondly, they're young guys. They probably put themselves in stupid situations. So yeah, if you want to get in trouble, you can find trouble anywhere you go. But if you're just an average guy, you keep to yourself, you have one girlfriend, maybe you have a side piece, you keep a low profile, you're not going to get any trouble.
I don't know what's going
But you do have these dumb guys, these dumb Sims who they go to the bar, they get drunk, they get themselves into trouble.
Absolutely. But I mean, like, look at this comment. The Jesus Nerd: South Korean 4B movement angry. Dude, the 4B movement is not making a lot of traction in South Korea. It's having it's not really doing anything over there.
I actually watched a video about that 4B movement, and they were saying that the Western media was basically blowing that up, and that it's not even really a thing. Just the Western media heard about it and started blowing it up.
Yeah,
but it's not a thing.
You have it started like I don't know, it was like 2018, 2019, and went literally nowhere. And now you have women in Western society like, oh, we're gonna do 4B now, as if men actually care. Like women, this is the crazy thing with women in Western society. They're out there with Chad and Tyrone, running around with Chad and Tyrone, and then they basically say that we're on a strike and we're not going to be physically intimate with men anymore. And it's like, bro, you're not physically intimate. You don't like 99% of men. The only time that you become physically intimate with a man is when you want, with these men is when you're trying to, trap one so that you can have babies, so that you can, use them as a beta male provider. And most men are now walking away from Western society and relationships in Western society. They're onto the game. Like, for example, he's not even going to get it right away. He'll have to wait like 6, 7, 8 months, at least 3 months, and spend tons of money just to get something that Chad and Tyrone got for free. And you're like, oh, we're going on strike. We're not going to give it up we're not going to I don't know. I don't think media understands. And even some men, the TradCon say this. A lot of these people say this.
They're completely disconnected. You try to explain, MGTOW to them, and they'll be like all confused. They'll be like, "What?"
They think that these people think that if women basically became conservative again and stopped being physically intimate with guys and stopped doing this, it would somehow change the behavior of men. Most men are not getting physical intimacy.
They're trying to save the world by by bringing TradCon back. But men don't even want TradCon anymore. Men are just fine by themselves.
The TradCons,
but they think they can save the world. And then, because I know we talk about shame a lot. I've actually been getting a lot more shame from men than from women. Actually, a lot of the shame is coming from the men now, from the TradCon men, like the Matt Washes. That's why I don't like Matt Wash, because he's always like, "Oh, you just need to be a man, be a real man, and just get married and have kids. And you're selfish if you don't want to have kids." How does it make you selfish for not wanting to have children? Like, I don't understand that.
Look at this comment. I don't know what's wrong with Jesus Nerd. Like, I understand being cautious. I understand, but like, you have a lot of guys like him that are just ballistic. Like, he just won't stop. Romania M2 to Andrew Tate. Like, let's be very clear about Andrew Tate. All right, the average guy in Romania is not getting M2'd. The average broke ass Romanian is not getting M2'd. The average foreigner in Romania is not getting M2'd. All right,
that's what I'm saying. These are famous guys who already have targets on their back.
Let me make this very clear.
And for all we know, this could have been a psyop.
Andrew Tate and Tristan, they could have got M2'd in Mexico. They could have got M2'd in Dominican Republic. It could have happened in any country that they were in. Okay, they have targets on their backs, and you know what's crazy?
Exactly.
Men don't want to listen when I say that. Listen, I respect a lot of things about the Tates, but they live the way that they lived. They set themselves up for this. How did Andrew?
Exactly. Yeah,
How
they
did,
did.
how did Andrew
That
first?
and it wasn't and I really think it was a honey trap. That's what it was. It was a honey trap. That's what I think it was.
Like Andrew Tate and Tristan are not role models. They are not role models. How did they start out? Andrew's like he's trying to act like he's so brilliant, and I admit that he's built something, but it's a lot of it is a Ponzi scheme, and
Mm.
he's admitted that a lot of everything is these days is a Ponzi scheme. But how did he start out? How did he he's like, I'm going to learn how to get money, how money actually works. So how did this guy
Yeah.
start out to bring himself out of poverty? He went and started a cam business where he was like, he gathered a bunch of girls. Like, so basically, he went out there, found a bunch of girls, probably like low value, like girls with low self-esteem,
Mm.
dated them, and then told them, hey, I have a business and I'm going to set up like a webcam business, and you're going to go on these webcams and do things on there. And it's like, and men are like, we're supposed to respect you. Like, he put himself in that. This is not honest work. All right, a webcam business is not honest
Mm.
work. That's just asking for problems. That's just asking for trouble. And then
Well, I think Andrew Tate has charisma. He's really good at talking. I think he has a very high testosterone level that makes him very even more charismatic and even better at public speaking. And that's kind of what helped his rise to fame and success.
it helped his rise to fame and success. But look, I'm just talking about, look at how he made his money initially. Starting out, he
Mm.
made his money creating a cam business. That's that's adult work. And when you get involved in that type of thing, that's like, that's instantly putting yourself in a position where it could definitely work against you in the future. Like, you want to stay away from that kind of stuff. You don't want to get mixed up in the adult industry, and that's what he did. Because you can instantly be labeled as someone who is making women work against you, even if it's not true. And then, even after he transitioned from that, he started the whole Real World Academy, and he has this machismo personality, and he's like, showing men,
Mhm.
you could be like me. What does he do? He gathers up all of these women. Him and Tristan are flying women in from all over the world. Literally have buses where they have buses of women that they flew in, and they're like, okay, ladies, so if you need travel arrangements, like, to travel here and like go home, we're gonna take care of you, and all of this stuff. And it's like, this is like who are these women? These are like literally nobodies that they flew in from all over the world, like a bunch of brokies. And look, and like, these are high value men because they have these women around them. What does that do? That makes you look like you're actually you're moving women around the world. And it does not look good. These are men that could not settle themselves, quietly, just date one girl or two girls, or just
Mhm.
live
Yeah.
in the private. No, they wanted to be on the large scale. They put themselves, Andrew and Tristan, in many ways, they put themselves in this situation. They helped to paint that target on their back. And it's like, and it's like they're not living simple lives of luxury. No, they're living these lives where they're flaunting and flashing their wealth, which is also a very big no-no. Men who are very, very wealthy, the billionaires, they're walking around.
Mhm.
A lot of billionaires walk the streets. You will never know that they are billionaires, because they dress simple, they drive old luxury cars, and they live below
Mhm.
their means. These
Yeah,
guys,
they wear clothes with no labels on it, like no brand labels.
Andrew and Tristan, these are not meant to. These are not meant to aspire to be like. Like, this is like a
Mm.
path to destruction. Like, they
Well,
help
there's a
to create
certain
their
kind of
misery.
wealth. There's like a certain kind of wealth where money no longer, like I always say people who wear name brands are poor people who are trying to convince the world that they're not poor.
Mhm.
Whereas rich people, they know they're rich, so they don't have to wear name brands. Like, they don't care. There comes a point where you're so rich, like, it just doesn't matter anymore. You know?
Andrew and Tristan, to be very honest, they still act very much like poor people. Like, they really do.
Mhm.
They still
Well,
act.
because it's a mentality. It's not really about the amount of money you have. It's the mentality you have.
Yeah, No, it's like constantly trying to flash their wealth. Like they're like, oh,
Mm.
look how wealthy I am, and then you have a bunch of other brokies who are like, oh yeah, I want to be wealthy like these former
Mm.
like these former brokies. They're like, we were once brokies like you, but now look how wealthy we are. All right. Don't be a brokey. We're going to show you how not to be a brokey. So you can sit around smoking cigars,
Yeah.
wearing fancy suits with a bunch of 20-year-old McDonald workers, sitting, just sitting around by the pool. Pup, pup, pup. Like,
Mm.
like he's puffing at a cigar. Like, get the hell out of here, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, they have to. They're grasping at straws so they can say, "Oh, look, it happened to this person, so it can happen to you." I'm like, no, that person's famous. That's why it happened to them. I'm not famous, so the judge knows I don't have any money to take, so they're not gonna waste time with me in court.
You have a lot of the passport kings who don't have anything close to the wealth that these men have, and they're going around the world and living happier lives because they don't have like. There's another thing, like when you're putting yourself out there like that, you are making yourself a target, and they have made themselves
Hmm.
they've made themselves targets.
Yeah, you do have to kind of keep a low profile, even here in the Philippines. I know one YouTuber who got deported because the government didn't like what he was saying.
Yeah,
So
no, exact. I didn't know that. Who is he? A YouTuber got deported.
yeah, it was actually a couple weeks ago. It was what happened was and this is why I had mentioned in your other live stream about not filing your visa electronically, because they have this new thing where you can file your visa application online now, so you don't have to like have the inconvenience of going to the office or whatever. But when you file online, they actually do their jobs. They do a background check, an extensive background check. Like if you go to the office, they don't do no background check. They just stamp your visa, you pay them the money, and they don't care, right? You just go about your way. Uh,
Ah,
so now they want everyone to start filing online because that gives them more time to actually do a very extensive background check on you. And so the guy, they found out he had a YouTube channel. They also found out some other stuff about his past, that he had actually been in prison. And they said, "Hey, we don't really want your kind of people in our country," and he was deported.
is it anyone that I would know?
No, he had like maybe 20,000 subscribers, not that big, not that big.
20,000.
Yeah, it was somewhere between like 15 and 20,000.
That's a
He
pretty.
wasn't that big,
That's not tiny.
but he wasn't older. He was like a boomer too. So
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if it was because there's like there's I can't remember this guy's name, but he's over in the Philippines right now, and he has like this he has a really hot Filipina that he's with, and he's been like the Young Turks actually talked about him. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I thought it was him for a moment. I was like, oh shit.
No, it wasn't him, but he's had scandals too about a bunch of stuff. They say he abandoned his family in America and all kinds of stuff too. They tried to shame him,
Oh
all
shoot.
kinds of stuff. So they're actually, yeah. So if you're like a passport bro and you're a vlogger, yeah, they're trying to shame you over here, especially if you're successful.
He abandoned his.
Yeah.
Guys, do you realize that that's going to be like a big common thing going in the future? There's going to be all these women online like coming after these men when after they abandon Western society. Like this man abandoned his family, he abandoned his kids, he abandoned like this.
Mm,
This is really where the reality is going because you're right. A lot of these men are going to start seeking what do
mm.
you call it, asylum in other countries, and
But
they're
he
going to
does
be
have a hot Filipino. She's pretty hot
yeah, she's
for
bad.
him.
She is definitely
Yeah.
she is way up there. And but
Uh,
and even then that's nothing special in the Philippines, is it? I mean, those are you
no,
have a
she's
lot of
pretty
women.
average.
Damn.
No, I think she's a little bit above average. I think she's pretty hot.
For the in the US, she's way above average, but in the
Oh
Philippines,
yeah, she's like
she's average.
supermodel.
Yeah.
Honestly, she would probably be supermodel material in the U.S. Only the problem is that she's too short. So she would
Yeah.
have, if she was tall enough, she could be, yeah, definitely supermodel.
This thing, like, can you imagine? Like, it's so amazing. Like these people, these women, they cannot compete with these foreign women. They can't compete with these foreign women. Like the average woman, a
Also, they
woman who's
have very little to no makeup on most of the time, so
wow,
they're not
wow.
like caked up.
You know, one thing that like in the Philippines, I've heard that like they cannot do OF over there. It's like banned. They're banned from doing OF over there.
I didn't know that. That might actually be true because I've actually wondered about that myself. I've noticed that no one actually does that here, so maybe I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I mean, because if they could, if the Filipinos could do
Oh,
OF,
if
they
they
would be all
could,
over.
they definitely would. Yeah, they definitely would. There's no reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah, but you know, they're like, you know, like for example, there's
I'm
like this
sure they
one.
could do it. They could get a VPN and probably do it.
They would end up in jail. I'm pretty sure. Like they're, Phil. Let me see here. Only fans. I looked it up. Is okay. Is OnlyFans legal in the Philippines? It's not available. OnlyFans is not available for creators in the Philippines.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
you know, yeah. So
So
adult work,
they just banned it all together. That's what
yeah,
they did.
adult work is not legal in the Philippines. However, the Bureau of International Revenue has stated that the income from all sources is taxable, regardless of whether it's legal or illegal. That's insane. So OnlyFools is not legal there. But if women do sell, like they do adult work over there, they still have to pay taxes on it. That's
Well,
unbelievable.
technically, they do adult work. They just use Facebook to do it.
Yeah.
Technically,
Yeah, it's different. They're not doing it legally. That's, you know,
yeah.
they can't do it legally. I don't know.
But that's another one of those things where the government's not going to really enforce it on the women here. They're not. They know they're poor girls, and that's why they're doing it to begin with.
The government's not going to enforce it, but at the same time, they're not going to enable it. They're not gonna allow them to like
Yeah,
start doing
yeah.
OnlyFools. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
they're
it's yeah, they don't want the whole society to become like Western culture. That's why like a lot of like America, basically American media will be like, "Oh, they're censoring all these apps over in these other countries." And I'm like, "They're doing it because they don't want the debauchery that exists in the West to affect their children and their society."
mm-hmm.
And they're trying to blame these other countries of being tyrants, and I'm like, they're not any more or less tyrants than the West. They're actually trying to protect their society from becoming like the West.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. No, absolutely, absolutely. It's not gonna. It's going to. It's definitely not going to be pretty when things go downhill. Women and well, these women are not going to be able to compete. You're right. Get out while you still can, because when things start to go to hell, that's when you're going to start to see people, men and women alike, trying to flood out of Western society, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to cause, you know, property prices, everything to go up overseas, because people are going to see that these men are going over there, people are going over to other countries, and they're going to start charging more. So it's going to become harder to establish yourself overseas compared to now, while it's like, you know, it's still like open for everyone. It's much easier to do it, because when everyone's
Yeah.
over there, when everyone's rushing, that's when the prices are going to skyrocket.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with this Project 2025, that's when they're going to start the travel bans because
Project,
they need the women to get pregnant, but they need the men to stay in the country and get them pregnant.
the thing is that men are not going to do it, especially with these
Yeah.
the way women are, and the amount that men have to risk, and then the behavior. Even if here's the honest to goodness truth, even if, like, you know, all the laws were changed in Western society right now. So for example, they changed the laws. Men basically, you know, there was, you know, they got rid of no fault divorces. So no fault divorces are gone. Men don't have to worry about being M2'd anymore. Even if you were to get rid of all of these things, change the custody system around, so many things, men would still not want to be in relationships with these women. Maybe only the simps. All right. And then even the simps are looking at American women, and they're looking at the women overseas, and they're like, yeah, we're just going to go overseas, because even if you change all of these things, the behavior of women would still remain the same. The personalities, you know, they might just try to fake it. These women cannot cook, they cannot clean. They are deeply in their masculine. So men are not going
Mhm.
to want these women. Men are not going to want to be in relationships with these women with extremely high body counts and attitudes. No, men would basically literally say, okay, so thank you so much for making all these changes. It'll just make our lives more comfortable and it'll make us happier, but we're still not going to go and jump into relationships with these women. I genuinely, truly believe that men in Western society do not want to be in relationships with these women anymore, and women don't accept it. Even if you change the laws, even if you went and did a lot of reversals, men would not actively jump into relationships with these women. I truly believe American men, men in Western society do not want to be in relationships with these women,
No,
regardless of how
no.
good or bad things are at this point.
No, it's gone on they let it go on for too long. And now what happened is that men just got too comfortable with, staying home, playing video games. Like men are happy, men are content, right? They're not going to give up this comfortable, content life where I can take naps and play video games
Yep.
for
There's that.
for what? To go back to working 80 hours to pay a, $4,800 a month mortgage, and then who knows how much your HOA costs, all this bills and stress and
But yeah,
stuff. Like,
but yeah,
they're going to sign up to go back to that.
but MK,
No, they're not.
it's not just that. It's not just
And it's
that.
not. No, it's not just that. It's also the fact that, and I I say it's almost caused men PTSD. But the way that relationships have been has almost caused men to have, like, now they basically have PTSD when it comes to relationships. They're just completely like terrified of what could happen, you know?
It's also the quality of the women. For example, you've talked about how your Filipina is. They'll basically they'll learn you, your behavior, your likes, and so forth, and they'll adapt to you. Women in Western society, they will never do these things. They don't know how to compete for men. They don't know how to serve men. The very idea of serving a man makes them feel disgusted. For example,
Mhm.
they have no problems with a man kneeling before them, but they are absolutely disgusted of the idea of a woman kneeling before a man. It's just not going to happen. And these women are just not as attractive. If men want a woman, they're going to go overseas and get one. Even if all the laws change, women in Western society will never be as attractive to men as a foreign woman will be, because of the
Mhm.
qualities that the foreign woman has, the way that a foreign woman will take care of a man, the fact that foreign women enjoy being with men. They actually like being around the men. They know how to treat a man. They have these qualities. Men today are no, especially with soft guy era, men are not going to just not going to settle for this anymore. Like, why would you want someone like this when you can go overseas and find someone who's fit, feminine, and friendly? Women in Western society are not fit, feminine, and friendly. Even if all the laws change, it cannot change their personalities, because women no longer have femininity, and it's not coming back.
Mhm. No, yeah, it doesn't come natural to them because Western society and culture has gone decades without teaching women. They always want to tell men how to be men, but nobody wants to tell women how to be women,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
No one wants to tell you how to bake cookies, right? Like how to make some food. They always say that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Well, learn how to cook something then.
These women are masculine. They want a man who will cook for them. They want a man that will
Exactly.
provide for them. They want a man that will basically do everything for them. These women want husband wives. They're not capable of they're not really capable of doing anything. They don't know how to create value in a relationship. Like, a lot of these women are beat. Like, they've lived, after being, working in a career, being masculine for such a long time. They don't know anything about being a wife or a mother. They just want to live. They want to live lives of luxury and comfort. They want to be in soft girl era, when in reality they're entering into broke girl era right now. Like, hot girl summer is over. Soft guy summer is on the way. Broke girl winter
Mhm.
is coming. That's what's really coming. Broke girl winter.
They
And
they better start doing some push-ups. They're about to get drafted.
it's the thing is, like, they think that they're going to be able to, like, get away from this. Like, if when tyranny comes, women don't understand that men can still stand up for themselves and say no, and the government basically, it becomes a tussle with the men. Like, Like, how far does the government really want to go against men? But when it comes to women, if men are not standing up for women, there's only the government has to basically put up a fight with the men. Women, on the other hand, they just go and pick them up. There's no one that's going to defend them against the state. They think that they'll defend themselves against the state, which is just absolute nonsense.
Exactly. When the government starts treating women the way they've been treating men, then women are going to be like, this is tyranny, and oh no, this is so bad. And men are just going to be like, well, we've been dealing with this, so this is kind of normal for us. Sucks for you, though.
The strangest and stupidest thing is they're going to say, men, go fix it. Men, stand up for us. Men, go fight for us.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not asking very.
They're gonna want men. They're gonna want men to go fight their pimp daddy government. Oh, pimp daddy's being mean to me now. Go help us, men. And men are gonna be like, you've been using pimp daddy against us all this time, and now you want us to go? No, I'm chilling. I'm good. I'm gonna go play some PlayStation and take a nap.
And the thing is, they're only going to go back to the same thing that they always do: shame, insults, guilt, questioning a man's sexuality, calling them little boys, saying that that these men need healthy masculinity, they need to be taught how to be men, women. And who's going to teach them how to be men? Simps, women, single mothers. Like it's a complete and utter joke. And do you know what happens? Here's the crazy thing. This is something. One of the I used to have a friend named Paul. He was one of the OGs in MGTOW, and I don't know. Here's something he said. He talked about this. He said, "What happens when the men leave? When men pull away from society?" He talked about it. He said he compared it to a barn, to a farm. He said, "What? Look at how the chickens behave. The chickens behave when the rooster flies away. When the rooster flies away, like he jumps and he flies and perch and puts himself like on a perch on top of the barn, and he leaves all the chickens alone. They start to henpeck each other, and we're going to begin watching that, just like the video we saw with the Sisterhood and how terrible the Sisterhood is. When men basically pull away and withdraw from society, and they can't get access to the men anymore, the women are going to begin to henpeck one another."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and fight the few women that do have access to a man, which is they're already doing that. The fake trad cosplayers that are coming out trying to pretend like, oh, we want to be good wives again, then the other women are coming out against them saying, oh, you're setting us back years, decades. Just because you want to they didn't even make the cookies. They went and bought them and put them on a plate and took a picture for Instagram in a yellow summer dress, and pretending, oh, I'm a traditional conservative now. I mean, like, no, you're not. You bought those cookies.
Truth. I think we're gonna wrap up right here, but we'll do this again. We gotta figure it out. I'm thinking that we'll do try to get this thing set up so maybe we can have one. The goal was originally to do it once a week, but life is just kind of stressful. But maybe try starting off with once a month. I think maybe something like that. And then we'll try to organize it so we'll have you and then maybe Sarai and whoever else we can get on and have a panel and to do something like that. But definitely got to do more.
Let's get somebody else on. Let's get a third person in the mix next time. See how that goes.
Get my Yumi in here.
Throw a Joker in the mix. See what happens.
Joker's been getting Joker's kind of breaking down mentally lately, hasn't he? He's been getting pissed off a lot, isn't he?
I don't know. I stopped watching him. I couldn't
watch Joker anymore.
I don't know. I got bored with his content.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, guys, what do you think about this? Society is crumbling as men give up on us. I'll have Mkfitness's channel linked in the description, so you can go check him out. Go check out his content. He's always streaming, talking about Jesus and the breakdown of the nuclear family. You can go check his content out. He'll be linked. You have anything you want to say before we go off, MK?
Get out while you still can. Get out before the travel bans.
Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And you can take us out. You go ahead. You do it.
And cheers.
There we go.